Hello, collective. I am the Nosy Witch, and this is my channel, Nosy Witch Tarot. Welcome to your pick a card reading. This reading is titled, What Are Your Gifts and Talents? We will talk about natural gifts, things you might be naturally skilled and talented at. However, we will also talk about skills you might have acquired over time, things you might have learned based on life experience. We will also go into that. The oracle portion of the reading, which we are going to start off with, that will be similarly to my last reading, which was also my first reading. That will be an energy check. It will talk about your gifts and talents. We will finish that portion of the reading by rolling the astro dice, and again, that will be further confirmation for you that it is your pile. In the tarot portion of the reading, we will be picking up more on current energy, what is going on in the present, or what you might have been thinking recently in relation to these gifts. We will also talk a little bit about how you might be able to access these gifts more, things you might be able to explore in order to do that. We will go into all of that in the tarot portion, and again, the tarot should be further confirmation for you that it is your pile and that is what is going on in your situation, in your life, whatever that may be. I really hope this reading resonates with you in some way, and if it resonates in one tiny way, please comment below and let me know. I would be so happy to know that my reading has resonated with even one person. Even if you think it's something that's insignificant, again, it is not insignificant to me. I said that in my last reading and I mean it. However, I realise that these readings are intended for a collective audience and therefore not everything is going to resonate, and that is okay. Not every single thing I say in this reading is for you. It might not be your story, it could be somebody else's story, and that is fine. It doesn't mean that it's not your pile. If you suspect that it might still be your pile, just wait and listen, because you might find something helpful in the reading. However, if nothing whatsoever is resonating with you, please feel free to pick a different pile. That is absolutely fine. If you are finding that none of the piles resonate with you, that is also absolutely fine. It might not be your story at the moment, and that is okay. There are plenty of other readers and readings out there for you. Maybe this one isn't for you right now, but perhaps it will be in the future. These readings are intended to be timeless, so you can always return back to it at any time. And if it resonates with your situation more then hopefully you can watch it and take something from it at that point in your life. In regards to any oracle or tarot decks used, I will link everything below. Well, I say I will link it. In my last video, I think I was awaiting some kind of verification. It wouldn't let me link. It wouldn't let me put a link in the description. However, if I cannot put a link, I will at least put the names of the oracle decks and authors or illustrators so that you can access those decks yourself, that you can find one of those decks somewhere on the internet, even if it's not a direct link. Okay, so for this reading, you will be using your intuition to pick from one of the three piles. So here we have pile 1, and that is with the vivid green crystal heart. Pile 1 and the vivid green crystal heart. This pile is pile 2, and that is the pale green crystal heart. Pile 2 and the pale green crystal heart. And then we have pile 3 and the deep green crystal heart. Pile 3 and the deep green crystal heart. So again, please use your intuition to pick a pile and then go to the timestamps below, and that will take you to your reading. It will take you to your selected pile. If you are finding that for whatever reason you are not able to connect with your intuition today, please use a random number picker online to pick a pile for you. The worst that can happen is that you pick the wrong pile and something doesn't resonate with you, and then in that case you can just go back and pick a different pile. If you enjoy my style of content, if this reading resonated with you, please let me know. It would be a massive help if you could like the video and comment or subscribe. Just anything that you can do to help me and my channel grow, that would be absolutely amazing, and I would appreciate it so much. I would be very grateful. Thank you for any support you are willing to give me. Without further hesitation, let's get into the reading. Hi Pile 1 Collective, welcome to your reading. If you chose this vibrant green heart crystal, this will be your reading. We are going to start the reading similarly to the last reading with an oracle check. Let's get into your reading and your oracle check. Okay, Pile 1, let's see what we've got. We have strength. We have the Empress tree, catalyst for change. We have spaceship, don't be afraid to sing. And we have you're already doing it, stop overthinking, keep facing your true north. So with these oracle cards, I am very much getting the sense that one of your major gifts is your strength and resilience in whatever format that might take. This could refer to physical strength, mental strength, emotional strength, or all of the above in some cases. It could be that you are literally a very physically strong person, that you are maybe working on your core strength. It could be that you have the gift of endurance in the sense of physical exercise. You might be gifted in the sense that you can push through and carry on. You might have literally competed in races or marathons and you have used your resilience. Obviously, things like marathons require a lot of training, a lot of commitment. If you have done one, I'm sure that you know that. And you're somebody who can really commit. That is one of your gifts. The fact that somebody could commit any degree of time to participating in a marathon for a worthwhile cause or a charity is incredible, regardless of, how skilled you are at it. But I know that some people struggle with the process of training for things like that because, again, it does require dedication, it requires commitment, it requires somebody to show up every day and slowly improve their fitness levels and their endurance in that sense. And some people just really struggle with that. You are not the type of person who, if you have a marathon coming up and you know that you need to train day in, day out, and you need to be up at 7 a.m., you are not the kind of person to go out drinking. Well, you might be the kind of person to go out drinking, but regardless of whether you have a hangover the next day, you are going to show up for yourself and you are going to train. If you say you are doing something, you are sticking to it and you have a lot of perseverance. Now, if you are listening to this reading and you're thinking, Nosy Witch, I am not a marathon runner, I do not like running, I do not want to do that, that is not one of my gifts. Remember that strength can mean many things, and regardless of how you find your strength or how you use it, I am telling you that you are a very strong and resilient person. To touch on physical strength again briefly, although this also goes into the territory of mental and emotional strength, it could be that whatever position you're in, whatever level of fitness, you are not afraid to push your body to its limits. So that could even be in the sense of if you injure yourself, let's say you break a bone and you require surgery, which has a sort of long healing process, and then maybe you need to engage with some physiotherapy, which can be quite painful as you are learning to be mobile again. It might cause you some degree of pain that is quite difficult to push through, but you have the physical and mental strength to persevere and push through it, and you are committed, you're dedicated to doing that. You're not somebody who's going to give up on yourself very easily, is what I'm trying to say. And similarly, if you are not actually somebody who is able-bodied, this strength card could also relate to that. Due to a disability that you might have or a struggle that you have, it might be that your body isn't able to do the things that other people are able to do with ease. However, regardless of that, you still remain strong and you will push it to whichever limit it is able to go to, if that is for your body's benefit. If you are advised by a medical practitioner to go to physiotherapy to try and stay mobile in whatever way, you will do that. You're not going to sit there and give up on yourself. You're going to persevere and push through regardless of pain. And obviously, it is important if you are experiencing pain, it's important to talk to a doctor about that and seek their advice, a medical professional. But people know and can sense that you are a strong person when you, let's use the physiotherapy example, when you turn up to your physiotherapy appointment, the person assisting you in that appointment, the clinician assisting you in that appointment, they can see that you are doing the work that you are trying to push through. They can see that you are showing up for yourself consistently and you have a lot of mental strength to be able to do that. Now, if it's not anything physical like that, again, this could refer to mental strength or emotional strength. It could be that you have been through a lot emotionally and you have used your gift of resilience to get through to that other side. You could be somebody who feels as though you have been knocked down repeatedly in that emotional sense, but you never give up on yourself. And that's not to say that you haven't ever thought about giving up. I'm sure anyone who has been in your position or similar, or all of us, to be quite honest with you, have had thoughts of just, I'm not going to do this project anymore. Like, I'm giving up because I just can't. It's too painful. It's hurting too much. And I just can't do it. I can no longer go on. However, you always manage to find that semblance of balance and that sense of inner strength within you. And that's something you can always rely on, and that you are incredibly gifted in that deep down, you do always have this sense of internal strength and perseverance. In terms of mental strength and perseverance, it could be that you are able to commit to projects and persevere with them, use your gift of resilience in order to follow through, in order to take a project to completion. And you don't need people's validation on the way to do it. You do that for yourself because you have that gift within you. You can persevere with things that might not necessarily be given immediate gratification, immediate payoff, because you know that it will benefit you and build up your strength and make you more resilient and confident in the long run. You have a tremendous capacity to be that way, to dedicate yourself to a task like that. So, for example, let's say you are a writer and you are committing to some huge project like writing a novel. Obviously, that's going to take a long time. For many people, it could take even years. However, if you start that project, you have the internal strength and resilience to be able to see it through. And with things like a novel, it's not necessarily like you can sort of get that validation along the way. I mean, you can show people as you're writing if you wanted to show close friends, your partner, your family. You can show them a little bit of your writing, and that might give you a little burst of, courage to be able to continue with it. But for the most part, it's not like you are being gratified while you are in the midst of carrying out that project. If you're in the middle of writing, it's not like you're getting any material rewards for it. You're far from the publishing stage. You haven't even got to that stage yet, is what I'm trying to say. But nevertheless, you don't need that. You can persevere without it because you know that the eventual outcome is going to be so worthwhile. And you don't need that validation. It's like you don't need anybody's approval to be able to do something that really benefits you because you have so much of that internal strength. And if you are, it doesn't have to be writing, but if you are taking on a huge project like that, I have so much respect for you, Pile One, because honestly, I like to write as well. I really enjoy it. Part of my degree was in creative. I did English literature and creative writing, so I love to write creatively. However, when I tell you that I really, really struggle to commit to one project at once, I am being honest because I really do find that a struggle, and your resilience is honestly inspiring. And I feel as though you are a person who not only you have the internal strength, but you also inspire other people to have that internal strength. They look at you, and eventually, because these projects will eventually come to fruition, and when you do eventually reap the rewards of these projects, people will look at you and they might even be like, I didn't know you were doing all this. Like, what have you been doing behind the scenes all this time? And that might give them a spare of encouragement to start their own project and really commit to it. It's like people get this sort of burst of courage and strength just from being around you. I feel as though you instill that in other people. Honestly, Pile One, maybe you need to do a workshop. And if it is writing, maybe you need to do like a writing workshop and inspire and encourage other people. If you did, I would probably go to it because I struggle with that aspect. I have so many ideas floating around in my head of things to write, and I will start writing, but I have countless unfinished projects. And if anyone's going to inspire me to actually finish a project, it's going to be you because you have so much of that internal strength available to you. That is one of your amazing gifts. I feel as though another one of your major gifts is your sense of self confidence and self assuredness. I feel as though you're somebody who's not afraid to be wholeheartedly yourself. And at times in the past, you are likely somebody who hasn't always felt a sense of belonging. Maybe when you were a child, you weren't able to fully connect with people who connected with you, like minded people. Maybe you always felt a little bit of a sense of difference, but you are no longer insecure about that. It could be that in the past you maybe got bullied for, possibly not following social conventions in some way. Um, but you are somebody whose gift is understanding that your uniqueness is your power and it's something you can utilize. It's something that gives you a unique lens to see the world through. And this difference could have been something relatively minor. It could be that you just have more of an unconventional look or a fashion sense that certain people perhaps have opinions about. You could dye your hair frequently, different colours. You might have some more out there colours. You might have piercings or tattoos that are visible. And although I feel like the world is getting better at being less judgmental in some ways, and most of those things I would say in our generation especially are perceived as quite normal now. It could be that the part of the world that you're from, perhaps it's still seen as, people view you a certain way if you have that type of fashion. I know in office settings or in workplaces, in certain jobs and careers, it is seen as unprofessional to have that little bit of a different fashion sense in some way. If you are around people who might be a little bit stuffy and a little bit judgmental, they might jump to the conclusion that you are one certain way because of how you dress and present and carry yourself. And honestly, you don't care. Like, that is what I'm getting, that you don't care because you are so self assured. One of your many gifts is knowing yourself and knowing that it doesn't really matter what they think because you know what you have to offer. You wouldn't have got that job if you weren't qualified to do the job. You got the job because you are the best person to do it. You really do not concern yourself with idle gossip and people making judgments when they don't actually know anything about you. You do not have time for it. You are too focused on your own goals. You couldn't care less if Bob from accounts thinks you are weird because you have blue hair. Because what is he offering to your life? Absolutely nothing. You are so self assured, and you know that how you look or how you present yourself doesn't have anything to do with your intelligence, your worth. And I know I got this last time with my other pile one when I did my first video, but again, I feel as though I'm getting this sense of potential neurodivergence. It could be that you have always felt this sense of difference because maybe you did things in a slightly different way to other people growing up. Maybe you have different needs. And maybe this got you bullied or picked on at a certain point in your life. For example, let's say if you identify as autistic and perhaps you didn't know you were autistic growing up, maybe that's something you have in recent years discovered, or you finally got a diagnosis that has clarified things for you. But it could be that you experienced like a lot of sensory issues growing up. So there was something that singled you out from other children in your year group or teenagers, whatever age you were. It could be like you couldn't eat certain foods that most kids just ate, no problem. It could be that you had to have a comfort item with you that other teenagers might have sort of made fun of in some way. Like you might have gone through a lot growing up, and that has made you very resilient and very strong to the point where nothing anybody can do in your current workplace, nobody's comments on the internet can really get to you because you have dealt with so much prior to this that how could it? You have already persevered through the worst stages of your life, which were likely, when you were younger and a teenager, and you have got through it. You've come out of the other side. No, but nothing that anybody can say is bothering you. You are so unbothered and in your element because you now know why you are a little bit different. You have a bit more clarity on that, and you know the ways that you can use that to your advantage and the ways that it can be a gift. You are becoming more and more aware of that. I'm getting in recent months, so I don't know whether this is something that you have discovered in recent months, or it could just be that you have certain stims that other people noticed, and people used to think it was weird and they would be like, why are you doing that? Why do you keep doing that? I've noticed this about you, it's really strange. And there was maybe a time when you felt bad about that, but now you have more of an understanding of yourself and why you do it, and you know that that was something you maybe did to emotionally regulate yourself and to keep yourself sane, and that actually that was very much to your benefit. So now you don't even care if somebody thinks it's weird, it's whatever to you, because you know that there's a reason that you do it. And not only that, but I also feel as though this gives you a deeper understanding of other people's quirks and weirdness. One of your gifts is understanding and empathy in regards to the fact that people require different things. We all have different needs. And you're never going to be the type of person to crush someone's spirits for being weird. If anything, you are going to encourage them to step into their weirdness, and you are going to encourage them to shine and not be afraid of putting themselves forward. One of your gifts is being very motivational in that sense. You are the kind of person, especially I'm getting like with the spaceship card, don't be afraid to sing. You are somebody who is now not afraid to look a little bit silly. Let's say you go out with a group of friends and you're all having fun, you're dancing, you're getting a little bit silly and you're dancing in a bit of a funny way or something like that. And maybe there's a group of other people at the other side of the club, the event, or wherever you are, and they're whispering about you and just being a bit mean, like a bit gossipy. And there was maybe a time when that would get you down because you didn't know, you sort of berated yourself saying like, oh, why am I being so weird? But now you could not care less. You are having so much fun with your friends, and that is all you are concerned about. You look at that other group of people and you know that you would be so unhappy being like them. You are not afraid to be weird. You are also not afraid to encourage your friends to be weird. And I don't necessarily get the sense that you are an extremely extroverted person. You could be, but I'm getting the sense more that you are an introvert who is very self assured. You could be shy, and I feel like too often sometimes people confuse being shy or maybe not talking too much with being weak in some way. And it could be that people approach you and they see that maybe you are a little bit shy and they think that they can undermine you. They think that they can get you down about, the way you look or just the certain differences that you have. Because bullying doesn't always stop at school, unfortunately. There are very many unhealed adults, people who were once unhealed children who turned into unhealed adults and continue to bully in places, well, in workplaces and in other social settings. That's just a fact of life. That's something that you know you are going to have to encounter those people, but you now are so resilient that you have the gift of being able to deal with those people extremely well. And you have the gift of motivating other people to not be afraid and step into their weirdness. So if you are dancing in this silly way and one of your friends says to you, oh, that group over there are looking at us, they're feeling a little bit intimidated, they're feeling like, you should stop dancing, you are literally giving who cares energy. Like, who honestly cares? Who are those people? I don't know them. I don't care. I'm here having a good time with my friends. It's about my experience, my moment to enjoy with my friends, and I honestly could not care less what this random group say about me or think about me. I'm never going to see them again in my life. It could be that you have done like a lot of CBT or some kind of other therapy yourself, so you know that people's perception of you is not your business and it's not your place to guess what those people might be saying or thinking about you. So you have this amazing gift of self-assuredness, understanding, and empathy. And you have the gift of allowing other people to feel safe in your presence because they know that you are not going to judge them for being a little bit different. And on that note, I feel as though you have the gift of being quite unshockable in terms of what people tell you and what they open up to you about. It could be that you have the gift of being a receptacle for other people's uniqueness. People might feel as though they are able to open up to you in a way that they often can't with other people, because sometimes when you open up to people about things that could be perceived as a little bit out there, I feel as though it can often be met with a sense of defensiveness from that other person, because people are often afraid of things they don't understand or things they don't know about. And I feel as though a lot of people don't always give advice coming from a place of objectivity. They often give advice through the lens of what would work for their own life. And I don't think you're somebody who does that. I think you're somebody who takes on board what people are saying and you know how to make it apply to their life. If you're giving advice, you're really thinking, because you understand that people have different needs and different sets of circumstances, you really think about what they would need and you only pick apart the relevant information when you're giving advice. So just one example of this to try and put it into some sort of context. Let's say that you open up to somebody about the fact that you would like to explore something like veganism, you want to try a plant-based lifestyle, you are going to start implementing some changes because it's Veganuary, and you are looking for recommendations or something like that. Or you might ask, have you seen any good vegan stuff at the supermarkets? Like, can you recommend a place? You are just looking for, you might not even be looking for recommendations. You could just be looking for a bit of support and just for somebody to say, that's an amazing idea, like go for it. Or, just somebody to have a positive reaction to a lifestyle change that you are trying to make. And often when we talk about lifestyle changes and people hear that, especially with the veganism thing or a plant-based lifestyle, people immediately jump on the defensive and they assume that because you are wanting to make this change for yourself, that you are somehow judging them or their lifestyle or what they want to do, when that isn't the case at all. And it could just be that somebody has asked you, like, what is your New Year's resolution or something like that, and you've literally just said, I'm trying to follow a plant-based lifestyle. But if you say that to certain groups of people, you are likely to be met with extreme defensiveness right off the bat. I know it's happened to me before. I immediately get people saying, oh my God, I could never do that, then going off on XYZ tangent about how they could never give up this and that and the other, and then going off on a huge tangent about any potential health consequences and just being quite negative about it, when that might not be the focus of the conversation and it might be quite irrelevant to this discussion. But I feel as though you are somebody who would contribute to that conversation in a way that the other person really needed. You would make them feel supported because I feel like you are able, one of your gifts is being able to pick out the relevant portion of the conversation and being able to give back, not based on your own needs and your own desires, but knowing what that other person needs in the moment and knowing how to motivate them. Because again, you have that sense of nuance and that understanding that different people require different things and that that's okay. You might be somebody who, you never personally want to follow a plant based diet, you're not interested. But if one of your friends came to you and they said that that's what they were doing, you would be nothing but supportive. You would really hype them. You would be a guiding light and you would be quite positive about it. And even if it's not something you're interested in yourself, you would be the one finding resources for them. You would be popping up in their DMs saying, I saw this at the supermarket today. I was in Aldi and they have some great veganuary stuff. You would be really supportive. And you'll be like, cool, like that's amazing. Like, how best can I support you? Because you know that that's what people need. They don't need a big rant about how they shouldn't be doing XYZ just because, it might be a little bit different to what the vast majority of people are doing. Because again, you have certain things that you need and certain things that people made you feel bad about as you were growing up. And you therefore never want to make people feel bad about their choices and, the ways that they might do something a little bit differently to the rest of society. You want people to fully embrace and be confident about their weirdness and about their differences. You want everybody to be their own unique person, and you very much encourage that. And with the Empress tree, catalyst for change, I feel as though you are a very transformative presence in people's lives. You have the gift of motivating people to transform themselves. It wouldn't surprise me if you turned out to be some kind of motivational speaker, or you had your own social media platform. It could be Instagram, it could be TikTok, it could be YouTube. It wouldn't surprise me if you had your own platform where you encourage people to grow and change and to really tap into their strangeness, their obscurity, the things that they want to do that other people think are weird. It could be in relation to spirituality. It could, not necessarily be something that they actively or you actively do. It could just be that people who lack confidence because of something unchangeable about who they are, like, for example, a disability or not being able-bodied. It could be that you really encourage those people to step into their power and to not feel like they have to hide themselves or shy away from life. You are amazing and so gifted at motivating people and really allowing people to step into their own power and to create positive change in their lives and also to unbind themselves. I don't think I read this earlier, but this card says the Empress tree, catalyst for change, clarity, freedom, and unbinding. I think this is about encouraging people to unbind themselves from society's norms and expectations and really access that freedom. You are so gifted at making people feel amazing about the things that they have been down on themselves for. I actually get the sense that you are an amazing hype man or woman. You are somebody who really can make people feel good about their differences, about their uniqueness. Let's go with the example that you do identify as being autistic and you perceive this as a strength, you use it as a strength in your day-to-day life. Let's say you have a platform where you talk openly about being autistic. You unknowingly could have inspired somebody to be more confident in their own journey with that. If it is a friend, let's say that they are looking to find a relationship, they are on dating sites, they have been talking to people, but let's say that they have never been comfortable expressing the fact that they are autistic or neurodivergent. They feel as though people have a certain preconceived notion of what that is and that it will put somebody off and that they won't be able to find that relationship. You are somebody who really inspires that person to be completely honest. You show them how that aspect of their lives can be a gift, that it is not something to hide, that it is not something to be ashamed of. And you are the one hyping them up and telling them that if somebody doesn't like all aspects of them, then they are not worth the time of day. And again, this could be a friend and they really take your advice on board because they see that you are that self-assured, strong, confident person, whether it's quietly confident or, whether you are more extroverted, they see that you are that way and they want to access that themselves. It actually gives them a spare to sort of step into their power. And again, if you do have a platform, it might be that you don't even know this person that you are inspiring, but you are so gifted at being inspiring and sharing that message in a way that people can relate to, and that gives them the strength, gives them their own strength to step into their power and to be more honest about who they are and to unbind themselves from these expectations. You are gifted at helping people in so many ways that potentially you don't even know about, just by being who you are, being unapologetically who you are, being that confident person. Your whole energy is so incredibly positive because I feel as though you really truly love and support and inspire the people in your life. And the people who don't get you, you just do not care about them. You do not think about them. You do not have time to think about them. You are incredibly gifted at putting people's negative perceptions of you to the back of your mind and not focusing on that. You have the incredible gift of being able to empower others, even when you have felt disempowered in the past by the reactions that people have placed on you. It really feels as though you are in a place where you can push through anything. It just gives this who cares energy. People could be making negative comments about you, but it's giving this who cares energy. They don't mean anything to me. I'm not going to take it on board. And that is such a gift. I'm getting, do you know the scene in Euphoria where there's Maddie and that guy, and the guy is like, there's somebody passed out in the bathtub. It's giving Maddie shrugging and being like, who cares? Let's dance. That's what I'm getting. Like, you don't care that people could be looking at you, could be making negative comments. That's none of your business. You know that. You stay in your own lane and you are very self-assured. Perhaps there was a period of time in your life where you were not as self-assured, but now that you have that internal strength, you have built up this resilience, you know who you are, you know why you are the way you are, you have dealt with a lot of trauma, you have been through a lot of different things on this journey of self-discovery. You could not care less that people think XYZ. That is just not your business in any way. And with you're already doing it, stop overthinking, keep facing your true north, this could refer to whatever project you are currently working on. Again, I get the sense that you might commit to big projects and not necessarily be receiving the validation. And sometimes if there are no material rewards, I'm not necessarily saying that you need validation, because I don't think you do. I think you are very good at not receiving validation and doing what you want to anyway, which is a brilliant strength in and of itself. However, when you are not receiving any material rewards, you could overthink the fact that you are, for example, putting quite a bit of money into this project and you are not receiving anything back yet. But this card is telling you that you are doing the work and you don't need to overthink this. Whatever you're doing, you could, let's say you do have this platform, you might be inspiring people in so many ways that you don't even know about. So if that is something you are engaging with, this is telling you to keep doing that, to keep persevering, to access that gift of resilience, that internal strength, because that is really working to your benefit. It's working in ways behind the scene that you might not be aware of, but your perseverance, your resilience, your self-assuredness, these are all your strengths, which again are working to your benefit. And whatever way you are using those gifts, they are aligning you with your purpose, your true north. Okay, pal one, that was your oracle reading and your energy check. We are now going to roll the astro dice just for a little bit more confirmation. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Pile one. Okay, we have Taurus. We have Taurus. We have Saturn. And we have house number 6. We have house 6. Okay, interesting. So the last reading that I did, Saturn came out on the astro dice in one of those readings. It could have even been pal 1. I'm not sure, I can't remember. But I kind of poo-pooed Saturn a little bit. It came out in one of the readings anyway, and I spoke a little bit about how Saturn can sometimes be an imposition. It can cause delays, it can restrict us. However, Saturn really does serve a purpose. Saturn is really there to give us lessons in order to help us be our best selves. If you view Saturn through the lens of the archetypal strict father figure, Saturn may feel harsh at times. It might feel as though Saturn is an imposition and it does deliver harsh lessons. But while Saturn is strict and can be an imposition and can cause delays, it thinks about the practical, it thinks about the material. And whilst it can deliver some harsh lessons, it is also coming from a place of love in that it pushes us to be our best selves. It tests us, and those tests are something that build strength of character. And people who are predominantly Saturn ruled in some way could be Capricorn or Aquarius. I think Aquarius was traditionally ruled by Saturn as well as Uranus. Saturn really is about endurance, it's about pushing through, and the things that you have been through have helped you develop this mental strength and possibly physical strength, either or both, because of the lessons, because of the things you have gone through, the things you have experienced, the things that Saturn has taught you. It could be that you have recently gone through your Saturn return and you have started to step into this more confident energy and access your gifts in that way. It could just be that you are heavily Saturn ruled. You could have a lot of Capricorn or Aquarius placements in your chart. You could have Saturn in the first house because the first house rules the physical body. So if it is relating to a disability of some kind or something to do with the physical body, it could very much be that. It could be Saturn in the 10th house. That 10th house it can refer to social status, reputation, or it could be Saturn in the 11th house. That refers to community, things like that. But you don't have to have any of those placements. It's just extra confirmation if you do. Basically, it doesn't have to be those houses, but if you have some kind of prominent Saturn placement and that Saturn placement is aspected in a way that has affected the way other people who have treated you or, your physical body in some way, it could be that Saturn has helped you develop this tremendous resilience, and that is something that is now used as one of your gifts and something that you instill in other people because you have been through so much and had to endure such a lot. Taurus energy also makes me think of somebody who is very resilient. Taurus energy is solid. It talks a lot about building. This could be in the sense that you have literally built yourself up from somebody who was perhaps not as confident, and now you have built yourself up into this person who is in some sense unrecognizable. It's about being committed, dedicated. It could be that you are a person who has predominant earth placements, or that you are very grounded in the way you approach the world. You sort of approach the world and any projects you are undertaking in this practical and pragmatic kind of way. You understand the need also for relaxation. Taurus can at times be perceived as lazy. However, I prefer to see it more in the sense, it can be lazy on the shadow side, but I prefer to see it more in the sense that Taurus understands the need for material pleasure and the need for stimulation of the senses, the need for grounding. It understands the need for rest because in order to solidly build something, whether that be your reputation, your strength in terms of your physical body, your emotional strength. Taurus understands that you need that rest and that sometimes you need to step back and just enjoy the material things. And maybe that's something you once felt bad about. Maybe, you were somebody who at one stage in your life you experienced burnout in some way and you felt bad for having to take a step back, having to take time off work, having to relax a little bit more than usual. But now you are somebody who understands that need to have comfort in your life and to enjoy the finer things. And that also translates to you having the gift of being very understanding with other people. If they need to take a break, if somebody cancels a social obligation because they are struggling with burnout too, you do not reprimand them for it. You completely understand it because you've been through the same thing. Or equally, if one of your friends said something like, you know what, I spent a ridiculous amount on this travel pillow because I wanted to fly in comfort, you would be like, good for you. That's amazing. I want it too. Can you send me a link? Because you understand the need for that comfort. Even if you have a very spiritual side, you see the value in earthly comforts as well. You know that they can really help the way you approach things. You also understand that if you try and attack a task all at once, you will get burnout. So you understand the need to persevere and do something slowly over time. And with the sixth house, I'm getting that your ability to access that routine and to build something solidly, to access this Taurus energy, to access this earthy energy, because I think the sixth house is a Virgo house. That is what helps you access these gifts. Because let's go right back to the beginning and talk about the marathon example. Just in that example, you know that your routine, although on a day-to-day basis it doesn't necessarily seem like routine, is helping. I know sometimes it might feel as though routine isn't helping us in some massive way, but the things you are doing day in, day out, those are what are helping you access your gifts and access this strength, because you are not able to train for a marathon, let's say, all in one go. That has to be done over time. It's what you do on a day-to-day basis. It's how you function in your routine that helps you and gives you that strength. And it's the same for, let's say, if you were doing physiotherapy or something like that. You are very aware that unless you do these tasks every day, you are not going to get better. You are going to get better by the things that you do day in, day out, the way that you dedicate that time to yourself. You are very good at accessing that routine. You are good at committing to a workout routine if that is something you do. You have that internal strength to not give up. You realize that you don't have to be all or nothing about it. You don't have to approach it as like, well, I have to do an hour workout every day. If one day you do an hour and if the next day you do 5 to 10 minutes, you know that that is absolutely fine. You understand that any sense of that routine is helping you and it is what allows you to access your gifts. That is it for the oracle check for pile 1. Now we are going to move into the tarot portion of the reading, and we are going to look into these gifts a little bit more, give you a little bit more insight about how you can access these gifts in the near future and how these gifts might help you, other people, and the world. Thank you so much for listening. We will move on to the tarot portion. Hi again, pile 1. This is just a little reminder to have a drink if you have not already done so. I have just finished doing your oracle read and I realised that I was very thirsty, and instead of ignoring my needs, I have took a leaf out of what I think is your book and I have gone and I've found water. So I've got some water next to me now, and now I'm ready to proceed with your tarot reading. I am using the Weird Cat Tarot, I've decided. So let's go ahead and we'll look at what you've got. Okay, pile 1. We have 8 of Cups. We have the 10 of Swords in reverse. We have the 5 of Pentacles in reverse. The 4 of Swords. We have strength. I knew it. We have the Hanged Cat / the Hanged Man. We have Ace of Wands. We have Judgment. We have the Page of Swords. And we have the King of Cups. Okay, pile 1. So with this 8 of Cups, this speaks to the idea that you might have recently walked away from something, you might have abandoned something. It might not necessarily be recently, but at some point in your life, you have made a decision to walk away from a certain job, a certain person, a certain project of some kind. And this is not typically in your nature because you are that dedicated person, you are that committed person, as we saw in your oracle reading. Normally, once you commit to something, you are dead set on a goal. However, you also have this amazing gift to be able to understand your needs and that sense for balance and that need for rest and recuperation if you require it. So, whatever this 8 of Cups situation was, it could be that at one point, and I don't get the sense that it's now because you do seem in quite a self assured energy. So, I think in whatever case, deep down, you know that this decision to walk away from whatever it was the right decision for you. I don't think you are necessarily doubting it, but maybe you are just seeking further clarification. And if that is the case, it is coming through on the cards that was the right decision. And I will go on to that in a second. It could be that this change at the time was difficult for you, and even though you knew it was the right thing, it still could be that there was a bit of hesitation and struggling with walking away from whatever this was, because again, you are a person who's normally quite committed to something once you set your mind on it. It could be, if this was a place of employment, that it got to the stage where you felt as though you had to leave this place of employment, you had to quit. Perhaps you had to go off sick for a considerable amount of time, and then perhaps you realized after that period of sickness that this place wasn't doing anything for you, for your well-being. It wasn't good for your physical health or your mental health, and perhaps you made the decision to leave, to quit, but you weren't sure whether you had a backup plan. You were maybe worried about financial loss, you were worried about material wealth of some kind. You were worried about whether you'd have any other options, whether walking away is the best thing, because how are you going to pay your rent? How are you going to pay your bills? That could be something that was very much a focus of your mind during this time that you decided to leave a situation. However, it was the best thing, because with this 10 of Swords reverse, that often talks about healing. And I don't think, had you not left this situation with the 8 of Cups, I don't think you would be able to access that healing of the 10 of Swords. Often when the 10 of Swords is upright, it can indicate collapse, it can indicate exhaustion. Do you know somebody who has absolutely reached the end of their tether? And I think that if you had not left that situation, if you had not realized that that is what's best for you, is to leave the situation, you might have ended up in that energy where you feel that exhaustion, you feel on the verge of collapse. And with this 10 of Swords, although maybe you were doubtful of whether it was the right decision at the time in some way, you know that it is what it has enabled you to recover and recuperate. You know that letting go of whatever this was in your best interest. It's allowed you to survive, it's allowed you to make improvements. You know that it was an improvement for your life. And it's pretty much the same with this 5 of Pentacles. You know, that can talk about loss and hardship when it's in the upright position, but again, it's in reverse. So it makes me feel as though this 8 of Cups, this walking away from a situation, again, has allowed you to overcome this adversity. And you sat back and realized, wait, like, no, I actually really needed this. So it was actually a very positive change for you and something that has impacted your life for the better. Maybe that allowed you to access that gift of self-assurance. Again, with this 4 of Swords, that indicates rest and recuperation. And I feel like you leaving this 8 of Cups thing, whatever it was, you have been able to restore yourself and that has been so beneficial for you. That recuperation has allowed you to restore balance in your life in a way that you previously couldn't. Let's say that you realize somewhere along the line that a 9 to 5 job wasn't going to work for you, perhaps due to your neurodivergence, if you identify in that way, or perhaps due to a disability, and perhaps reasonable accommodations weren't made at this workplace, or reasonable accommodations weren't enforced, or the reasonable accommodations that you asked for weren't provided. Perhaps it was promised to you, but it wasn't given for whatever reason, it wasn't enforced. Perhaps you felt bad for taking the things that you need in some way, and it came a point where you was like, right, I'm not putting up with this. Like, I can either continue going off sick in order to recuperate, or I can just let go of this entirely, let go of this situation, and really take the time to myself to heal and figure out what I want to do. The Eight of Cups can also refer to like searching for truth. So this could be you properly thinking about what you want to do, how you want to use your internal strength and motivation to inspire other people and show up in the world for yourself and others. And with this Four of Swords, you've had the time to do that. That balance has enabled you to restore yourself so that you are able to access that sense of motivation again. Perhaps that was lost again because you realized that a 9 to 5 wasn't for you. Perhaps you even thought about starting your own business so that you were able to find sanctuary in your home again, because your home might have become a space at some point or another that didn't feel safe. If you felt overloaded with work, perhaps you were bringing work home, perhaps, you were made to feel bad at your place of employment, or if you had to take a day off or work from home, perhaps you were constantly being bombarded by work phone calls, or, people checking up on you. You felt very micromanaged. You don't need to be micromanaged by anyone. So that potentially made you feel as though you just had to let go of this situation because it wasn't going to make you happy. It could be with the Four of Swords that you decided to, again, like start your own business or something. And this is a pile who is very much capable of managing their own time because they are very good at, well, you are very good, shall I say, very gifted at committing to a goal and sticking to it and having that internal strength to do it. So you are the ideal candidate actually to be able to set up your own business if you have the resources to do so. And that could be something you're currently looking into, or if you already have a business, you could be expanding on those ideas. With this Ace of Wands, that talks about new inspiration. It could be because I think you are so gifted at understanding people and their hardships, because you have been in the situation of people not understanding your struggles and your differences. You are very good at empowering others and understanding where they're coming from. Again, that everybody has different needs. You are very respectful of that. You are very encouraging to people who might need more rest due to like a physical disability or any kind of disability, invisible disabilities. You could be very good at empowering people to make sure that they take the time to listen to their body and restore their needs and take the time to rest. You could be an advocate for those people in some way and encouraging people to advocate for themselves. So even if there are a community of people, if you have a platform online, for example, and you feel as though it's not doing too well or something like that, I feel as though you're gifted in so many ways that you don't even know about, because this platform, this message that you're spreading, I think that it is helping so many people and you don't necessarily realize it. Even if people watch you and they are dealing with a situation of being in a 9 to 5 job and perhaps not getting the support they need, your words or the message you spread, this kind of advocacy, that might encourage them to advocate for themselves and to stick up for themselves in an employment setting. You might encourage a lot of people who are a bit less assertive to take action and assert themselves and to not be afraid to do that. You are incredibly encouraging. You have such a gift with motivating people and inspiring people, and you are like a constant source of inspiration in that sense. You also have a lot of new creative ideas. You have a lot of passion with this Ace of Wands. And in terms of understanding people, again, you are somebody with a significant amount of perspective with this hanged cat. You can understand people in many different situations because you know what it's like yourself to be in a bit of a different situation. You have a tremendous capacity for seeing things from different sides and understanding people's individual needs. With the Judgment card, you also have a gift of being incredibly diplomatic and, again, seeing both sides of a situation. It could be that you are gifted in terms of being the mediator between your friends or just groups of people that you know. So, for example, because you are aware that everybody is unique and they have their own way of approaching the world, ways of interacting with the world, and everybody has their own individual quirks. And you can see that with a lot of nuance, and you have quite a deep understanding of that. So if a friend approaches you and maybe they are having difficulty with another friend, you could be an amazing mediator between your friends because, again, you understand different sides of a situation. You know that not everything is black and white. You could be that person who people come to for advice on other people because, again, you are able to see different sides of that situation. You can see from multiple perspectives. You have a lens where you can access different people's perspectives. And you are somebody who is also very truthful, so people know that you are very gifted in being able to speak your truth and give them accurate advice. You are gifted at giving advice that comes from a place of genuinely wanting to help and not your own projections, not your own insecurities. You are gifted at giving advice that is balanced, that is diplomatic, that is fair to all parties. And that is why people feel as though you can be reliable. People feel as though they can come to you with their problems and you are going to give them a balanced perspective. You are going to understand that situations, again, aren't black and white. There is a lot of grey areas. You can see the reality of that. You could be very good at talking people down from situations of conflict, whether that be a conflict with themselves or a conflict with somebody else, because, again, you have a gift of empathy. You can understand where they are coming from and why they feel that way, and you can communicate that to them so they know that you too have experienced hardship. So people feel very comfortable opening up to you in a way. You could be somebody who people just tell you things and you're not really sure why. It could be that you have just met the person and they are opening up to you in a way that perhaps they don't with other people, and you are thinking, why are they telling me all this? But it's because that people can sense that you have the gift of being non-judgmental and, again, seeing multiple perspectives, understanding that there are multiple sides to everything. You can see that and people know that. You are very gifted at making people feel comfortable, at giving them the information they need, at understanding people and making them feel validated and supported. You could be somebody who very much advocates for people going through hardships in some way. Again, this could be on social media. You could be an influencer of some kind. You could be advocating for a group of people. However, it doesn't have to be. You could just be somebody who helps and supports people in some capacity, even if you do have a 9 to 5 job. I'm not saying like you can't have a 9 to 5 job, that was just one example. But in your day to day life, one of your strengths and one of your gifts is supporting people and being that non judgmental voice of reason, that diplomat, that mediator, that person who can talk people down from conflict. You might have actually had the experience of dealing with talking somebody down from harming themselves in some way, or that could be something that you do even on a semi-regular basis if you are in that line of work. You just come across as somebody who is very gifted at dealing with situations in a balanced way that would make other people fly into panic. Other things along those lines could be something like working in the medical field. You could be a clinician of some kind. You could work in psychology and mental health fields helping people. You could be a doctor or a nurse or a clinician of some kind, a phlebotomist, a physiotherapist. You could be anything like that. You could just work in any role where sometimes there are emergencies that you have to deal with and you approach it in a balanced way. And actually, you provide this sense of calm. You are very, very gifted at making other people around you feel calm and feel as though things are all going to be okay. Again, you provide this sense of balance. And not everybody is able to do that. Some people, when they are met with a display of emotions, if they are met with somebody angry or somebody crying, they just shut down. They do not know how to deal with it. Equally, some people are quite unempathetic to other people's pain, and you are not. You are very empathetic. You understand what it's like to be in pain, both mental, emotional, and physical, or physical, shall I say, whichever applies to you. So, one of your gifts is transmuting that experience of having gone through pain and helping other people overcome their pain, whilst providing them a safe space to talk about that pain and to make them feel validated, to make them feel supported, and this sense of comfort, and getting them through it, making them realize that everything will be okay. You are that very calming, balanced mediator presence, and you are tremendously gifted in that aspect. Especially with this King of Cups energy, the King of Cups as an archetype, he has this great balance between his head and his heart. He is devoted like you are. You are committed, you are devoted and passionate about a cause, but he again has this sense of balance. He's an advisor, he's a counselor. It could even be that you are a literal counselor. You strike me as somebody who has been in therapy before of some kind. I realize that not everyone has access to therapy, but it feels as though you are somebody who has done like CBT at the very least before, or if you haven't done that, you are somebody who has had to do a lot of self-soothing in the past, and you've had to almost be a therapist for yourself. Maybe you have sought out a lot of support online and you have found a lot of resources. You've gathered that for yourself in order to help you be this person who is very gifted at perseverance. Maybe that is something you relate to, and you are spreading that knowledge to other people in some way. So perhaps you are a literal counselor. If you are not doing anything on a social media platform or online, it could be that you work in the counseling field, or again, the medical field, or you could be an EMT or ambulance services, something like that, where you are placed in that situation where you are dealing sometimes with a lot of conflict, a lot of people with strong emotions, and you make them feel seen and heard. You are very gifted at that. And with this Page of Swords, you just know how to communicate with people in a way that again makes them feel as though they are understood by you. I don't know why, but I'm getting the image of somebody who makes marginalized people feel seen and heard. And I don't know why this specific imagery is coming into my head, but I'm getting somebody who works with the older community, like somebody who potentially works in a nursing home and is very chatty and communicative with older people who perhaps don't or haven't in the past been listened to. I just got the image of somebody listening intently to like a back in the day type story told by an older person. And you are very good, you're very gifted at making people feel listened to. That doesn't have to apply, but that's just one example. Is that you really give a voice to people on the outskirts of society who maybe like get forgotten about in some kind of way. You really listen to them, you offer them a voice, you offer your empathy, you make them feel seen and heard. People might think, or they might even tell you, that they have never met anyone like you before who has listened to them in that way. So let's use the example of like if you do work at a nursing home, perhaps the older people who you deal with, who you communicate with, perhaps they have commented that you are such a nice person because you are willing to listen to them, because you listen to their needs, you respect their pain. If they're telling you they're at a certain level of pain, you really listen to them. You find access to the things that they need to accommodate them and to assist them with that pain. And perhaps other people haven't done that. So that really makes people who feel marginalized gravitate towards you, because they understand that you are so gifted in understanding their needs because of what you've been through. And I feel like this ties really well into the Strength card, because obviously I don't need to go into how much of a strong person you are. And I think that You know, this was always within you to be very resilient, to have that persevering energy, but I think that it is something you have had to learn and develop due to what you have been through in the past. Perhaps there was a time in your life where you did not feel as strong. Perhaps there was a time in your life where you did feel more vulnerable and susceptible to people's negativity in some way. However, you have gone past that now and you are in this strength energy. But strength is also about compassion. And I feel like your gift to yourself, to other people, and to the world is using your compassion as a strength, advocating for people, with talking people down, with conflict resolution, with mediating, with diplomacy, with seeing things from all different kinds of perspectives, and just having this ongoing resilience, this perseverance, and seeing people through all the hardships that they face, the way you have had to see yourself and self soothe yourself through these conflicts. I feel like that is your strength and something you are gifted at and will continue to be gifted at. I see that you are only becoming stronger, you are only becoming the best version of all these things that we're speaking about. You mediating, you will only get better at that the more experience you have, and I feel as though you are already quite experienced in that aspect. So, pile one, that is it for the tarot portion of your reading. I wasn't quite sure how to finish this reading, but I've decided that we will finish with some advice, some guidance from your guardian angels. And more than anything, this should just be confirmation of what we've talked about, how you have been gifted. And yeah, we're just going to see what you got. So, yes, let's have a look at this. Courage. Dare to be different, to make mistakes, create, for it is in creation that you exist. In this world of dreams that stem from the eternal heart, you are one with all creation. All is possible. Go forth and be true to yourself, for it is only through being true to you that you can be true to others. That is just so apt for your reading. I feel as though you are somebody who has had to learn that the only way to live in your true self is to be authentic, to be true to yourself. I feel as though that's something that you have had to learn and it has become your gift. And literally dare to be different. Like, that couldn't be more accurate for you. I think you do have this sense of courage, and this is just confirmation that you are gifted in that way, that you are daring, you do dare to be different. Yes, you may have made mistakes along the way, but that is all part of the human experience. And, you know, it doesn't take away from the fact that you had that initial courage to go after, you know, something that might be perceived as a little bit different to other people. So I really hope that that resonated with you and that that made sense. If you feel this reading resonated in any way, if you like my style of content, please like the video, please subscribe, please leave a comment. Any little way that you can help support me would be absolutely amazing. Thank you so much, Pile 1, and I hope to see you again soon. Take care. Bye-bye. Hi, Pile 2. If you chose this pale green crystal heart, this will be your reading. We are going to start off by looking at the oracle cards, and similarly to my last reading, this will be sort of an energy check, discussing your gifts. Without hesitation, let's go into the oracle cards. So, pile 2, we have Priestess, we have Grey, we have Amber and Dawn Redwood Rewild, and we have Future Predictions. So with this selection of cards, the first thing that I'm really noticing is that it's giving very witchy vibes. So you might actually be a person who gives off aesthetically witchy vibes. People might think that you dress a little bit alternative or a little bit witchy. You like that vibe. I'm sensing that you're very gifted at giving off that sort of mysterious vibe. And you might be the type of person who very few people actually know but people want to get to know because of this mysterious vibe. With all these cards actually, but in particular, I'm looking at this lady and her witchiness, her aesthetic, but also the priestess and the sort of direct eye contact on this card. It's making me feel as though like you are very gifted at holding eye contact with people and making people feel as if you can almost see into their soul in a way. And the thing is, I am also feeling as though you are a very, very spiritually gifted pile. I think pile 2 is my spiritual pile, and so you probably can, in a way, see into their soul. I feel like you are somebody who is very gifted at not giving information out about yourself necessarily, but getting information out of people without trying. Just by looking at them, your perception is like you can see right through them. I think you are very gifted at knowing the truth of a situation. I'm really getting that your intuition is a very profound gift for you. I'm getting that you can very much sense things before they happen with this future predictions card, and people are always shocked by how on point you are. You are very gifted at picking up on things that others don't, whether it just be, in social interactions, you might be like, did you notice XYZ? And you're thinking about what that means. You can intuitively sense what that means, and perhaps other people don't in the same way. And whilst you might not be a physically intimidating person, you might not be tall or large, I feel like you do have the capacity to intimidate people, especially with this eye contact. I think people feel as though they cannot lie to you, and honestly, because you are so gifted at finding out the truth and using your intuition to find out that truth, I feel as though they can't lie to you and they can't get anything past you, and they sense that. And sometimes it might make people sort of shy away from your gaze because it is quite intense, and they feel under scrutiny if they are lying, basically. With this priestess card in particular, I keep getting the phrase in my head, reluctant leader. And I say reluctant leader because I don't think you know how gifted you could be at influencing people, at leading people in some way. It could be that you are actually quite an introverted person and you don't necessarily see yourself as the person who is first to volunteer to lead. But with this card, it's saying that that is one of your gifts and it's calling you to, in some way, step up and lead. It doesn't necessarily have to be via anything spiritual. I'm just sensing that you are a very spiritual group. You are in touch with your spirituality in some way. Maybe you have gifts that are yet to discover in that realm that you aren't even aware of yet. I mean, obviously, if you are looking at tarot readings, I know that there will be some element of being interested in the spiritual, but maybe it's something you've only recently started exploring to the full capacity. Maybe it's something you have always been interested in, but you've never really explored whether you'd be able to, potentially even become a tarot reader yourself. You could do that. You could either have a business, you could just do it as a hobby, or you could even be a reader yourself on YouTube and putting yourself out there like that. Which, if you are, like, that is amazing, because I know it takes a lot of bravery. It's taken me a lot of bravery as an introverted person as well. I'm saying that because I feel like you might be, but I know that it does take a lot of courage, and I know that it's not easy. So if you are doing that, that's incredible, or in whatever capacity that you are exploring your spirituality and you are getting the message out there in some way, you're doing a great job. And it is something that you are really gifted in and really honestly called to do. It might not necessarily be tarot readings, it could be astrology, it could be crystal healing work, anything. And also, when we speak of spirituality, I think we tend to associate it with all the woo woo stuff, which I love. Like, I'm not gonna lie, woo woo stuff I feel personally has helped me in many ways. I don't think it's the only route that we should go down when talking about spirituality, and I don't think we should substitute woo woo things at the expense of advice from actual medical practitioners. I think everything needs to work together in harmony, and each individual person should seek advice from their clinician and decide what is the best route to go down when dealing with any health things like that. But yeah, my point is, I don't think it necessarily has to be something woo woo. It could be something like more medical, but you try to bring a more spiritual aspect to that realm that you're working in. For some reason, I'm getting something about addiction, and I don't know why, but it could be that you are working with people or you have worked with people with addictions in some way, and you are introducing them to spirituality and you are trying to help them through those kinds of methods. I don't know what the specifics of that would be, but spirituality can encompass a lot of things. It's about the all rounder, it's about your physical health, your mental health, your emotional health, and it could be that you are a sort of therapist in some way. I'm getting a very therapeutic energy. Again, like you have that sense of intuition and you know what people need, and you have a good level of understanding and perception surrounding people's emotions. However, whatever you do, whatever field you're in, I think you're somebody who actually doesn't understand fully how or quite how gifted they are. You might be able to sense that you're quite good at knowing things or having that intuition and sensing things. But I feel as though you don't fully realize your gifts yet. I think a lot of them are yet to come. And again, I'm getting this phrase reluctant leader. I think you look at yourself as somebody who, potentially you have quite a bit to say, but you don't necessarily think of putting yourself out there immediately. That's not your go to thing. Again, I feel as though you could be quite introverted and you might think, oh, well, my message isn't important. Like, what qualifications do I have in that sense? But you are extremely gifted in a spiritual sense, and your message does matter, your message is important. You could be somebody who experiences a lot of deja vu and a lot of dreams that turn out to be premonitions, and you might not think anything of them at the time that it's happening. You could have a lot of dreams about just sort of regular everyday conversations, nothing major, and it turns out that that dream happens and you know what somebody is going to say, things like that. And again, deja vu, you could have that experience rather a lot, and it could really confuse you, but you just know that you've been there before, that has happened to you before. You could end up in those circumstances quite frequently. You could believe in past lives, or you might be somebody who wants to explore your past lives. And if you do, maybe that is something that you could explore this year. Maybe that will open the door on, some of these spiritual gifts that you might have and you might not know about. Maybe looking into past lives could help you access more parts of your spirituality and utilize them. Other than the spirituality aspect, I get the sense that you are somebody who is very gifted at letting go and severing ties with things that no longer serve you. And this could be something that you weren't always necessarily gifted at. This seems more like something that has been learned over time. But I get the sense that you are somebody who actually is very accepting of endings, even ones that have maybe caused you emotional turmoil in some way, have caused you a lot of sadness. I feel as though eventually you have such a gift in being able to transmute that pain into a lesson in some way, and therefore you are very gifted at moving on, at taking the good from a situation that has ended and leaving the bad behind. I'm just sensing that with this endings are inevitable card, that's what it's making me think of. It's that deeper understanding of the way life works, and that, some people are in our life for a short amount of time, some are in our life for a longer amount of time, but each person we encounter, that they can teach us something. I feel as though that is something that you sort of resonate with deep down, and it's a way that you approach life. The first thing that popped into my head actually when I was reading this card, endings are inevitable, it made me think of the song Spotless Mind by Janae. Is it Ayoko? I'm very sorry. She's one of my favourite artists, and that's one of my favourite songs. But my pronunciation is, I'm sorry if it's terrible. But yeah, endings are inevitable reminds me of that song. I cannot hold one singular note, so I'm not going to sing it, but I know the opening lyrics are something like change is inevitable and why hold on to what you have to let go of. And I get the sense that you are very much a person who resonates with that sentiment. You are very gifted in understanding the changeable nature of humans and relationships, and you are not going to be the group who is texting their ex after you break up. That is just not going to be you. And I'm not saying that you've never done that in your life, because again, this might be something that you have learned, putting things behind you. It could be something that you've learned and you've gained that knowledge over time. The endings, can often be for our higher selves, even though they might feel painful at the time. I'm not saying, you've never done it, because I'm sure everybody has done that at some point, but you are very gifted at having an impeccable cut-off game. That is what I'm getting. Like, once somebody has done you wrong and you decide that you need to sever ties, they need to go, well, you both need to go your separate ways. That is done. You know that that was inevitable. You know that actions come with consequences. And it's not that you are not forgiving, it's just you are very understanding of the fact that sometimes things do have to change, things have to be uprooted, and we have to go a different way. And you are extremely gifted at going that different way without looking back and constantly being in a state of nostalgia over times that have now passed. I actually get a Janae vibe from this group. So I don't know whether you have any. I think she is a Pisces, because I remember I many years ago bought her poetry book. It was called Two Fish. So I think that she called it that based on her being a Pisces. So you might have a very Piscean energy about you. You might have prominent Pisces in your chart, but you absolutely don't have to. You are very gifted in having a sort of changeable and spiritual nature. Again, dreams might be significant for you. Or I always think of Pisces as, quite a dreamy astrological sign. So it could be that you have very vivid and intense dreams. You might be gifted in experiencing lucid dreams and kind of being able to control your dream more than perhaps other people say that they can. Like, I know people who lucid dream very, very frequently, almost sort of every night or every other night. And then I know people who it has never happened to. I have conversations like that all the time with friends and family. And yeah, it's just interesting how people's different dreams work. So you might not even know that you're gifted in that way, because you might assume that everybody has those kinds of dreams quite frequently, but not necessarily. It could be something that you are particularly gifted in. I also feel as though you are very gifted in giving honest advice and exposing the truth of a situation, with this perception versus reality phrase on this part, on the Rewild card. I think you are somebody who is gifted in giving extremely honest advice to your friends. If somebody came to you and asked for your honest opinion on the person that they're seeing, the person that they're dating, if you got a red flag vibe about them, which again, I think you're very gifted at picking up on vibes. And I think a lot of people come to you because they seem to know that you know that. So I think a lot of people come to you knowing that you see things that others don't, potentially. And that really helps your friends pick the right people to date, and they know that they can trust you and to be honest with them and to give upfront advice and to not necessarily hold back. I'm not saying that you approach it extremely mean. I think you are very, very humble. I don't think that you would tell your friend something if it wasn't necessary. I think you are just trying to protect your friends and look out for them. And again, if they're asking you something, you will say it. And people are actually grateful for your advice because, again, like you might pick up on something that they haven't noticed, and you might say to your friend, well, I think XYZ was a little bit of a red flag. And your friend is like, I didn't even notice that. Thank you so much for pointing that out because that is weird now that you mention it. And I don't think it's done in like a gossipy way, but just more trying to protect the person and pick up on things that they might not have seen for themselves because they've asked you to clarify your opinion. And with this Tree Keeper card with Rewild, I'm getting the sense that you are a little bit of a wanderer. Maybe there was a certain point in your life where you felt lost, but you are now very gifted in seeing that it's okay to be a wanderer. It's okay to have a changeable nature, to try different things, to explore different aspects of life. I think I'm saying wanderer because, again, that's like the chorus in Spotless Mind, and I just keep thinking of that song. So I don't know whether that song is significant to you, but if it's not, look it up anyway because it's a really good song. I just think you are very, very in touch with yourself, and you are very gifted at knowing that change happens for a reason, change serves a purpose. Endings are inevitable, as it says on the card. You are good at moving on. You might have been very emotional about certain endings in the past, but ultimately you will pack yourself up, you will get yourself together, and you will move on. And when you do move on, it's like an incredible change, a transformation has taken place. You are good at mutating yourself into someone and something else because that change, that ending served a purpose. With this card, I'm getting like, not that she's dressed for a funeral or anything. I mean, she looks beautiful. Like, that could just be how she dresses, that sort of witchy vibe that we were talking about. But with the fact she's in all black clothes, similarly to how you would dress if you had been to a funeral, and then she's sat on the pier looking out, and the sun is coming out from behind the clouds. It gives the sense of like somebody, again, whose cut-off game is very strong. And I'm not talking about an actual physical funeral, but the metaphor of like, right, I've just come from a funeral, but change is inevitable, endings are inevitable. I've processed that, I've had my emotional time, and now I'm looking out and seeing the sun coming out. I'm looking towards brighter days because that chapter of my life is over. And now let's see where else we can go from here. That is very much the message I'm getting with that. Again, it doesn't have to be regarding an actual funeral. It could be in relation to like a breakup or something. That's just the sort of metaphor that I'm getting across. Again, with Rewild and Tree Keeper, I feel as though you are somebody who is potentially very gifted at looking after nature. You could be a brilliant pet mother or father. You could look after plants, be a plant mum or dad. And if you do have plants, they might really thrive. You might actually like talk to them. Like, I was going to say you might actually talk to your pets, but I know we all talk to our pets. As we should. So I won't necessarily say that because I think that's something that just everyone does. But again, you could talk gently to the pets in your life, the animals in your life, and even the plants, and they seem to thrive under your care. You are very gifted at looking after them and providing a sacred space for them to grow and develop. Okay, I think that's all I'm getting with the oracle cards. We are now just going to roll the astro dice for a little bit of further confirmation. Yeah, so bear with me, pile two. We'll do that in just a sec. Okay, pile two. Let's see, pile two. Okay, so we have Scorpio. We have Scorpio. We have the moon. We have the moon. And we have first house. First house. So, with this astro dice, this has just confirmed what we have been saying about you, about your energy. With Scorpio, we have somebody who is very good at transformation. Again, we have a very powerful transformative energy. That could be something you are incredibly gifted in, maybe transforming your own life, but also transforming the lives of others, especially if you do share your spirituality or you share your knowledge in some way. You know, if you are doing that thing where you are working alongside people who have addictions or anything like that, it doesn't have to be addictions. If you are helping people access their spirituality or some deeper knowledge in some way, you are transforming people's lives. You feel like maybe you have a calling to transform people's lives. And if that is something that resonates with you, this is confirming that that is something you are very gifted in. Again, with the first house, it seems as though a lot of this does show itself on the surface. You might, again, present yourself in a way where people can pick up on the fact that you are knowing in some way. It's like everything's on the surface with you. Again, it could be in relation to eye contact in some way that could feel quite intense. It could be that people sense this deeper sense of knowing with you. It could just be the way you dress and present. Again, I'm getting the witchy vibe with the Scorpio. You could wear quite dark colours, and if you do, you look very good in dark colours. You are gifted at pulling off that aesthetic of somebody who is quite witchy and mysterious. So, if that is what you're going for and that also resonates with your personality, if you do practice magic or anything like that, if you do identify as being a witch, then that is just further confirmation that, again, people see you that way and that it really suits you. With first house and Scorpio, it could be that you have a Scorpio ascendant. You could have Scorpio or Pluto conjunct your ascendant or on the ascendant. You don't have to, but if you do, that is just confirmation that, you know, that comes across when people meet you, and it's something that it's where your gifts lie, because the first house, it is the physical self, and it's like your actual physical body feels things through the external world that other people don't. I am picking up on very heavy water sign energy again with the Scorpio, but it doesn't have to be. It could be like Pisces or Cancer, like we said. And especially with this moon card, I think in tarot, the moon is like a Pisces card, but in astrology, I think the moon is ruled by Cancer. Like, you don't have to have water signs in your chart, but it's just confirmation if you do. If you don't have it in your big three, it could just be prominent elsewhere in your chart. Maybe have a look into that if you haven't already. Although I suspect you're somebody who has looked quite deeply into your birth chart. But yeah, with the moon, it does speak about subconscious feelings, your deeper needs, a sort of inner knowing. So again, you are somebody who is very psychically gifted and incredibly intuitive. I'm not sure if you know about all the gifts you have. So that is mainly what I'm getting with the oracle cards and the astro dice. We're going to move on to the tarot portion of the reading. So I'll see you in your tarot section, pile 2. Thank you very much for watching so far. Hi pile 2, welcome to the tarot portion of your reading. We are using the Weird Cat Tarot, that's what we are using for all our piles, and we'll just have a look at what you've got. Okay, pile 2. We've got the Knight of Pentacles. We've got the Eight of Swords reversed. We've got the Chariot reversed. We've got the Six of Cups. We've got the Hierophant reversed. We've got the Magician. We've got the Three of Cups. We've got the Three of Swords. We've got Strength. We also got Strength in pile 1. We have the Queen of Wands. Those are your cards, pile 2. Okay, pal, two. Firstly, I'm sensing with this magician card, you are somebody, which I'm sure, given what we've said in the oracle portion of your reading, it won't necessarily surprise you. But just to confirm, you have incredible psychic gifts, you have spiritual gifts that perhaps you are yet to share with the world. Perhaps you don't even fully understand yourself yet, you've not had chance to explore them to the full capacity. But the magician is all about manifestation and creating something out of nothing. You could be very, very gifted at manifesting. You could almost feel like you are a lucky person to be around because people notice that the things that you want, the things that you go after, always manage to come into fruition in some way. You are like a magnet to some people, you just attract things. Um, And it could be that you don't necessarily feel that way. Like everybody has good and bad things that happen to them, everybody has things that go wrong. So I'm not saying that you are somebody who, you never have anything go wrong because I can see you have had to experience a lot of hardship with this Three of Swords. I can see that there has been, heartbreak like anyone else that you have had to experience. And, it has taken tremendous power and, your brilliant capacity for transformation to overcome that. And again, we'll go on to that, we'll talk about that a little bit later. But with this magician, I'm sensing that you have such a lot of power to be able to bring things into reality. You have an amazing power to create something from nothing. You are very gifted at being resourceful, of making the most of what you have, of realizing the importance of gratitude in that way. You could be somebody who has actually been manifesting since you were a child or since, before you knew what manifesting actually was. You could have been the type of person who experienced a lot of magical thinking growing up, and you maybe wrote down your wishes and put it under your pillow, or I don't know, you did little rituals like that to try and make things happen. And then maybe because, when you're a child, you don't always really know what you want. Let's say you had a crush on somebody in your class and you wrote their name down on and you put it under your pillow, and then it's a few months later and you no longer have a crush on that person anyway, like you've forgotten about them and you don't even remember that that was something you initially wanted or something you wanted to manifest. You just didn't really think about it again, but eventually, like, when you look back on it, you have realized that that person has come to you because you have drawn them in through this manifestation. Something like that. It doesn't have to be that example in particular, it doesn't have to be a person. It could be, when you were really little, maybe you asked your parents or your caregivers for a dog. And again, like you forgot about it, and then years later, they surprised you by getting you a dog or a pet or something like that. It doesn't have to be a particular person, is all I'm saying. But it could be that you, until a certain point, didn't realize because, again, you had forgotten that that is something that you wanted and you just thought it was like coincidence, like with the person you had a crush on, you were maybe like, well, yeah, I liked that person at one point, but I don't really like them anymore, and that's not something I want anymore because we can be quite fickle as children. And again, with this Three of Cups, I'm feeling as though you are a person who is extremely gifted at, like we said in the oracle reading, giving your friends advice. And you are somebody, your friends hang on your every word. And I'm not sure if you know that. I think maybe you are too humble to really consider that or accept it. But with these two cats here and the other cat hovering over these two cats, and them just looking up at this cat like, what is this cat going to say next? That is your friends to you because you pick up on so many things that potentially they don't. Let's say that they are dating somebody and they bring the person they're dating out to meet your group of friends. They absolutely, you're the first person they think of to invite. They want you there because that you're going to be able to give your honest verdict. And once the person they're currently dating has left, they're all going to turn to you and going to ask you, well, what did you think? And you're going to be honest because you have been able to see right through that person. You are the person that your friends rely on to give advice and to give assessments about other people, as weird as that sounds. Your friends are going to listen to you if you tell them to dump somebody. They are hanging on your every word. You are incredibly powerful at giving advice and coming from a place of integrity when you do so. We also got the strength card in pile one, so if you did feel like you wanted to take a look at pile one, you are more than welcome to see whether any messages in there resonate. But again, like, I think you are just a very strong person within your own right. This could be potentially saying that your spiritual gifts are very strong and you are not aware yet of how strong they are. The things you could offer the world through your spiritual gifts and through your compassion, that is very strong. However, I do get the sense that you are somebody who is gifted in having good boundaries. Again, with this, the thing I said in the oracle reading about your cutoff game, this Queen of Wands is indicating that you are self assured and confident. You don't necessarily need to take anyone's BS. You are quite good at asserting your boundaries. Maybe that is something you weren't naturally gifted in, but you have learned over time. Again, you don't have to be an overly extroverted person in order to be in the Queen of Wands energy. It is just, you could be quietly self assured, but you are nevertheless self assured, and you're not going to put up with any nonsense from people. That is very much what I'm getting. This is quite a fiery and passionate energy, so although you might come across as, shy or introverted, or people think that they might be able to manipulate you, this is very much saying that they can't. You are very gifted in not allowing anyone to manipulate you, maybe because of previous heartbreak that you've been through, maybe just because you have always been gifted in having that strong sense of intuition, those strong spiritual gifts, and that has always sort of steered you on a path of avoiding the wrong people. Or again, maybe that this is something you've learned through experiencing interactions with the wrong people or the wrong things. With this Eight of Swords in reverse, again, going back to what we said in the oracle reading, I feel as though you are somebody who feels a sense of freedom when you are able to surrender, and you are very gifted in surrendering to certain situations, as we were speaking about again with this Queen of Wands and this cutoff game. And when people leave your life, they have left, that is it. You don't need to be contacting them again. You are very good at asserting yourself in that way, and surrendering is what I'm getting, because you are now in this mentality. You are very gifted at having the mentality that, whatever will be, whatever happens is for a reason, and I am accepting of that. Maybe again, that's not something that you always felt, but you are incredibly gifted at that now, and this is something that empowers you going forward, making decisions in your life. The Knight of Pentacles, now this didn't necessarily come up in reverse. The Knight of Pentacles can represent somebody who is very efficient, goal orientated, and hardworking. And that is you. Like, that is definitely you. However, sometimes when this Knight of Pentacles does come up in reverse, it can indicate somebody who is sort of going through the motions. Things can be quite boring, things can be quite things are consistent, but it's almost like just the same monotony. Monotony, is that the right word? I think so. So this could be indicating that at some point in your life you maybe felt a sense of like being trapped or a bit bored. I don't know why I'm getting that, because it hasn't come up in reverse, but I just feel as though maybe at one point in your life you thought that your strength came from being that steady, efficient, hard worker in like a 9 to 5 job or something like that, and it was something very practical, something with a steady income. However, I'm feeling with this Chariot in reverse that some part of that left you maybe feeling a little bit powerless. You were sick of doing the same thing every single day. You felt a little bit directionless, a little bit lost. You were really craving change, because you might be somebody who does change a lot. You are very gifted at, again, transforming situations and being somebody different. And with this Chariot, it's like something slowed down and you weren't happy in, this current place, wherever you were, whether it was a job or a person. I just get the sense that you felt this sense of monotony, you felt boredom, you thought, is this it? Like, is this my purpose? This isn't necessarily something that I want to be doing for the rest of my life. And with this Hierophant in reverse, your gifts lie more with doing something unconventional, something that maybe doesn't follow tradition. Maybe you thought that by being steady and practical and reliable, this Knight of Pentacles energy, maybe you thought that that would bring you happiness. But with the Hierophant in reverse, I think you I think it's saying that your strengths lie more with doing something that is unconventional, something that potentially doesn't conform to what other people around you have done. Maybe you had this sense of self doubt. With this Eight of Swords, you felt victimized at one point, you felt paralyzed at one point, you felt like, I can't go out and do something different, something unconventional because I don't have the qualifications to do that. It could be regarding something spiritually, it could be spirituality, and you're thinking, what right do I have to come and offer people spiritual advice when I haven't done XYZ? But this Hierophant is saying that, this is something you have maybe been called to since you were very young. Maybe you have pushed those sort of psychic or spiritual sides down because that kind of thing wasn't respected in your family or within your circles. Maybe you have been a bit reluctant to speak about that kind of thing with other people. You weren't sure how people would react, and therefore you haven't gone into detail regarding any spiritual practices you might be part of, you might participate in. But it is something you are extremely gifted in and something I would encourage you to explore more. I'm not saying that you should quit your job and jump right into doing tarot readings or anything like that, but I'm just saying that it is something that I feel would really give you even more confidence than what you have currently, because you are very talented in that aspect. Again, with this Magician card, that just says it all. Also, with the Six of Cups, I'm getting that, again, this could be a gift that you have had for a very long time. Perhaps you had spiritual experiences growing up, even when you were a child. Perhaps you had an experience in a dream or something like that, or you made some kind of prediction, but when you told the adults in your life about this, they kind of dismissed you, or they thought, oh, like they're just a child, they're just probably making things up to get attention or something like that. And slowly over time, this eroded your connection to your spirituality. So maybe it was something that was kind of forgotten about and pushed down and repressed for a good period of time. And maybe it's sort of something you're then exploring again now, and you're getting back into it and you're ready to look into even more things that you didn't even necessarily know about, because you're feeling, you're looking back and realizing that this gift of intuition, it has really helped you. It has strengthened your ability to read people, to perceive things, to understand the way the world works and how people work, to understand interactions with a deeper knowledge. And you realize that all these things are gifts and are strengths. And just because you didn't have, or you don't have XYZ qualification, it doesn't mean that you cannot provide an incredible service to the world in some way. And just again with the Six of Cups, I'm getting that potentially you are somebody who people feel very comfortable opening up to. I get the sense that you are somebody that people feel a sense of familiarity with. Sorry, I was really struggling to say that word. I get the sense that when people meet you, I get the sense that when people meet you, they feel as though they've met you before. They recognize something in you. I don't know whether it's because of the way you look or just a feeling, but they feel quite comfortable opening up to you. It could be because they can sense that with, the intense eye contact, that you can see right through them anyway, so they might as well tell you, they might as well not lie to you. But it could just be this sort of feeling of feeling safe and comfortable because they've known you before, even if they haven't in the physical world. there could be that almost strange feeling of like they feel like they've met you in a dream, or you feel like you've met them in a dream. But either way, they feel as though they can open up to you and really express themselves. So you are very gifted at making other people feel safe and comfortable and allowing them to share parts of themselves, to give them space, to share their words and their world experience. Okay, that is what I'm getting for you, pile 2. We are just going to finish the reading by looking at the Guardian Angel Oracle card that I've pulled for you. So let me just get the one that I've pulled for pile 2. Okay. We've got Inner Child. Nurture your inner child and begin to express the awesome beauty you hold within you. We live in a world where a formula exists for everything, yet love and creativity have no formula. They do not need to be studied, simply nurtured. Regularly set aside some time to just play. So I feel like with this inner child card, that's sort of saying, again, it's confirming the things we were talking about. When you have those moments of self doubt because you feel upset that you don't have a certain qualification, you feel like that means that you can't express yourself or dive into your spirituality or to share it with people. This is saying that these things, they don't necessarily need to be studied, they just need to be nurtured. So this is just suggesting that maybe you should look more into your spiritual side, into these gifts, these psychic gifts, if that applies, that you might have, and to really explore that more. A big part of learning is just doing, it's just diving into it in a way head first. And again, I think it's going back to this thing of your inner child. So perhaps in childhood, you did have a bit more of a connection to your spiritual side, and somewhere along the way that got lost. So it's about that nurturing that inner you and redeveloping that, getting it back, allowing it to grow, allowing it to shine, because that is something you are very gifted in, even if you don't know it. I don't know how much you know and how much you don't know, but it might be sort of conflicting messages because this is a collective audience, but I am really sensing that you need to nurture that inner child by exploring your spiritual side, by looking into different concepts. Again, you can learn a lot of these things online, you can learn via books, the internet, and a lot of learning is just putting these things into practice and actually practicing it yourself in a physical way. So that is your reading, pile 2. I really, really hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please leave me a comment below. If anything resonated in any way, please let me know. I'd love to hear about it. Please like the video if you enjoy my content. And please, please, please subscribe if you like my content as well, because that would really help me out. All right, thank you very much, pile 2. See you in the next one. Bye-bye. Hi, pile 3. If you picked the deep green crystal heart, this will be your reading. We are going to start by looking at your oracle cards. All right, pile 3, let's see what we've got. So we have Anna, grandmother of Jesus. We have Lavender, surround yourself with love. We have Crazy Lace, Agate and Sunflower, play, make more fun, jokes and laughter, please. And we have Divine Language. Okay, so the first thing that I'm noticing, pile 3, is the colour of these cards in particular. The vibrancy, the orangey, warm glow that the cards are giving off. It's very much making me think that you are an incredibly warm and bright person. I'm really sensing with this lavender, surround yourself with love. I'm sensing that you are very gifted at being a calming and grounding presence in people's lives. You are amazing at offering the people in your life who you care about a safe space. You are very gifted at making people feel comfortable and making people accepted, making people feel as though they can open up to you with the people on these cards. In particular, it just looks so cozy and inviting. You have an incredible gift of making people feel welcomed in potentially all areas of life, not necessarily just your friends. It could be that you are an amazing host. You are very gifted at making people feel good when they come round, when they are in your presence. If you ever have people over at your house, if you have your own house, you could really pull out all the stops to make them feel comfortable. It doesn't necessarily have to be that you put on the fanciest spread and you make loads and loads of food and you spend loads of money. You might do that, but you don't have to do. It might not even be that you throw massive parties, but the people who you do have in your life feel very comfortable coming to you. They feel extremely safe opening up about more personal things. And you make them feel safe in your home as well. They feel that within you, they always have a safe space to come to. They feel as though you are a very good listener, and I think you are a very gifted, active listener. I think you are good at assessing what people need from you. If you have a partner, or even if you don't, I can tell that you will be the type of person who is an amazing partner. You would be the best person at talking your romantic partner down from a stressful situation. If they have had a bad day, you would know just how to cheer them up. You would know exactly what they needed. You would be the person who would run them a bubble bath and you would make their favorite meal. You would just make them feel so lucky to be in your presence and company. You really make people feel cared about. You make them feel as though they have been listened to. You make them feel validated and accepted. I think you are actually a person who is gifted at getting other people addicted to your energy in some way. You get people craving being around you because of how you are able to take care of people and provide the things that they need and make them feel so cozy and so loved. I think people, once they are in your life, they don't ever want to be removed from your life. They would do anything to stay there because they often feel like they have never had a friend or a partner or a family member or a colleague who takes care of them so much. You are very much somebody who remembers the little things about people. You could give incredible gifts. You could give very thoughtful gifts. You can tell that when you give a gift, you have put a lot of thought behind it. It's not just like another bath set or something. And there's nothing wrong with bath sets, by the way. I am addicted to having baths. Again, I'm a Taurus moon, so that would work very well for me as a gift. But I'm just saying that it's not necessarily, you wouldn't necessarily get a generic present. You would really think about, it could even be something that somebody has told you that they liked like 5 years ago, but somehow you'll remember it and you'll get them a gift that's related to that thing. And they will be so enamored by this. They will think it is so thoughtful. Again, the people in your life, even if they don't always show it, they really, really appreciate you. You are somebody who is not to be forgotten. You are somebody who is very much a giver. Even if you sometimes feel like people don't necessarily give the same to you in return. And again, this is a collective reading, so there's going to be all different kinds of people here. And it's not that I'm saying that you don't have boundaries, but I'm just saying that you are somebody who makes a lot of effort for the people they care about, and you really do the most for the people you care about. You go out of your way to make them feel special. You are very good at making people feel special. You are very good at making them feel accepted and wanted, and you are very good at remembering the little details about people that maybe other people have surpassed or forgotten about. It says lavender, and I don't know if that is a significant thing for you, lavender, or like the smell of lavender or something, but I know that often people use that as a sort of calming, winding down scent. For some reason, I'm getting like an image or and the smell of a lavender sleep spray. This could be something that you have gifted to someone. Like if one of your friends said that they have trouble sleeping, you could have given them a lavender sleep spray or like some kind of essential oil to try and help them. It's just little things like that that you would do. And people think that you have forgotten about the things that they've told you, but you haven't. You've remembered it. You get people gifts that they can actually use. You are extremely good at that, being very giving and kind and nurturing towards people. Also, I love that we have similar colours with this play card. It is very vibrant and that just sums you up as a person. I feel as though you are to many people a gift in that you are a literal ray of sunshine. And I'm not saying that you're somebody who has to walk into the room and be happy, jolly all the time, every minute of the day. I know that life isn't like that and we all have our down days. However, I feel as though you don't let your down days stop you from being a kind and generous person. If you are going through a hard time, it's like people don't necessarily realize it until you tell them. You could be going through the worst moments of your life, but you show up to work almost as if nothing's happened and you just get on with it. And although you might be going through significant life changes and events, and you could be going through something very emotional, you do not let that show externally, at least. There are some people who, when they have a bad day, emotions understandably get on top of them. But unfortunately, there are some people who, if something inconvenient has happened, they will take it out on other people and they will be quite mean and agitated and irritable with other people. Everybody will know if they are in a bad mood about something, and it could be completely, something unrelated to the situation at hand, but they take it out on others around them, on colleagues, on, anyone really. However, you are not that kind of person at all. You don't ever want to make people feel bad. You want to provide a light to people. You want to be a source of warmth and comfort. You don't want people to know if there are things going on in your life. I'm not saying that you are necessarily super secretive and you don't tell your friends, but for example, in like a work setting, you show up and you do the job and people don't even know that you've got so much going on. You do not let that show on your face. Also, with this being the play card, I get the sense that you are somebody who is very, very gifted in terms of your sense of humour. I get the feeling as though you are somebody who is incredibly funny, who can really have a good laugh. You are the person who your friends always want to invite out because you provide endless entertainment. You are very humorous. I think people always say, we're definitely inviting Pal 3. You are the first person that people think of when they think of inviting somebody out to have a good time, to have a laugh. They know that you are just going to brighten the mood and be absolutely hilarious while you are doing it. They are like, we need Pal 3 at the function. They are going to give us a good time. They are going to be such a laugh. They really value you for those things, for being that source of light, that brightness in everyone's life. And again, I don't necessarily think that this is because you are just happy, jolly all the time. That is not it. In fact, the phrase that's actually come into my head is dark humor. So, some of your humor could stem from a place of darkness and actually from some of the things that you have been through that perhaps weren't as positive. So there could be something a little bit dark about your jokes, but it's always in a way that makes people laugh and really cheers them up. I'm getting the sense that you definitely know how to cheer people up. It could be like, for example, at work, if something has happened, like a maybe one of your colleagues is upset because a customer has been rude to them or something like that, you will come out with an excellent one liner that will brighten everyone's mood and just cheer them up and make them see the funny side of things. Your humor can maybe sometimes be a little bit rude, but it's never inappropriate. I feel like your delivery, it's always appropriate to the context of the situation. It could just be that you shine a little bit of light when things feel When things feel a little bit mopey, like if everyone in the office at work is moping, you deliver such a funny joke and you just make everyone crack up. I get the sense that it doesn't matter who somebody is, you can make them laugh, you can adapt in terms of your sense of humor and really have a playful rapport with anybody and just make them laugh, make them crack up. I get the sense that maybe you are somebody who always used to get in trouble at school for laughing or for talking. It's coming across as like you might be somebody who the teacher tried to move all the time. They tried to put you on the other side of the room, but you would make your friend who was sat, miles away from you by this point, you would give them one look and they would crack up. It's giving me somebody who, you have those friends where something happens and you make eye contact with them and you're trying to be quiet, you're trying not to laugh, but you can't help it. You just burst out laughing and it just kind of overtakes you. I'm sensing that you have that vibe about you. You really just make people laugh and make people crack up from being around you, and people just find you such a laugh, such a vibrant light. I don't think you would ever be inappropriate with it. Like, I don't think this is done in a tactless way. I think it's always appropriate to the context of the situation. So, for example, if a friend approaches you and they are sobbing because their nana has just passed away or something like that, you're not going to then turn around and say, oh, well, at least you don't have to get her a birthday present this year or something like that. You are not going to be tactless or rude with it. The way that you deliver your humor always cheers people up. It's always delivered with the intention of making people happy, of brightening someone's day, of giving much needed laughter to a situation. If the vibes are a little bit off, if people are feeling down, you are there to uplift them, to make them feel good, to add a bit of humor to a situation that otherwise might not be humorous. Again, not in like a rude way, but just using dark humor and that sense of, finding laughter in places where it wouldn't otherwise be is what I'm feeling. I'm also getting that you are potentially somebody who is very in touch with your inner child, and children love playing with you. If you are a parent, it could be that you are very good at imaginary play. You could be very gifted in terms of your imagination, your ability to create a story, to create a narrative, to really make children giggle and laugh. You could have nieces or nephews who really love to play with you. They love to hang out with you because they know that you're going to give them such a good time. You're going to have such a laugh. You really get involved with the play. You don't mind being a little bit silly, and you can get away with it because people just find it so funny and actually like so endearing as well. You're somebody who can be a little bit cheeky in some ways and get away with it. You are amazing at just being that playful person and just a bright light when it is very much needed. You could connect with children and animals really well. You could actually be some kind of teacher or you could work with children. Either way, children really seem to like and connect with you. You are very gifted at communicating with them. I'm not saying that it's because you are childish or anything like that. It's just that you haven't lost that sense of innocence and of playfulness. You find it quite easy to access that. It's one of your gifts. It's something you are incredibly good at, and people sense like sometimes if somebody is a little bit awkward around children, and I'm not saying like you don't feel awkward. If you're somebody who hasn't been around children much, it might not come naturally to you. You might not feel that way, but I'm just saying that, when you're a child, you sort of know if an adult is being fake in the way they play and that they're not really getting involved with it. Whereas you, I get the sense that you do really get yourself involved with that play and you fully submerge into whichever role you're kind of needed to play in a situation, and children can sense that about you and they therefore really enjoy their time with you. So if you do have a career, a role that involves working with children, this is something you are incredibly gifted in and a way that you really shine. I'm really sorry, Pal 3. My phone decided to stop working partway through your reading, so I recorded everything else that I said. and then I realised that it wasn't even recording. So I've had to re-record a little bit. I think we had mostly covered the play and the lavender card. So I'm going to talk about Anna, grandmother of Jesus now. This makes me think of somebody who is very gifted in being of service to others in some way and not necessarily reaping the rewards of everything that they have brought into fruition whilst they are there and able to enjoy it. So it makes me think of making sacrifices for the benefit of future generations or something like that. For example, this could be that you are very gifted. If it's children, it could be in teaching, that you work in a school, that you sacrifice a lot of your time in order to provide education to the next generation, to provide knowledge in some way. It makes me think of somebody who is giving and not necessarily seeing the rewards of their hard work, but they know that it is for the greater good. They know that it is for the benefit of the world and for the next generation, something like that. It could also be like social work, something just working with people and sacrificing a lot of your time and energy to make the world a better place in some way. If you are a teacher or a social worker or anything like that, that would make sense because whilst you might really care about your job and you care about your role, I realize that those kind of jobs are extremely underpaid for the amount of work that you have to do. And although you don't get compensated enough for your hard work, you persevere anyway because you know that it is for the benefit of, again, future generations. So you could be very gifted at spreading knowledge in that way if you are an educator in some kind of way. The Divine Language card talks about the golden ratio and how everything is interconnected, and Da Vinci paintings, it refers to that. So it refers to how mathematics and art and music and history and philosophy, all of those things are connected. So you could be very knowledgeable on those topics, or you could be incredibly gifted and talented in just one of those subjects. You could be very gifted at playing a musical instrument, for example. You could come across as very intelligent when discussing philosophical matters. You could be a bit of a history buff and you could know a lot about different times in human history and you could spread that knowledge in some way. You could have a lot of in depth discussions about it. You don't come across as somebody who is scared of delving into deeper topics. You seem like somebody who isn't necessarily a fan of small talk. You like to go straight in there and you give other people a safe space to be able to share their information about these deeper topics. It could be that you are a good communicator and you are gifted at languages. You could be multilingual. You could pick up on other languages, whether it's reading, writing, or speaking. You could pick up on other languages relatively easily compared to other people. You could be incredibly skilled and talented in that sense. You could also, just talking about the interconnectedness of everything, you could also just be somebody who is very good at picking up on patterns, who is very good at analytical things. You could have a brain that just works in a very logical way. If you are somebody who is good at maths, I'm very jealous of you because I'm not. My brain does not work in that way. I cannot do maths to save my life, but if you can, that is amazing. And it could be that you can see patterns in statistics or anything like that that other people can't necessarily see. You might be such an asset to a company who are looking to hire somebody who can assess that analytical side of things and who can make predictions based on those patterns that they're encountering. You could really thrive in that kind of role because you are so skilled at it. That is what I'm really seeing with your oracle cards. Now, we are just going to look at the astro dice quickly. However, I obviously rolled your astro dice thinking that I was recording and I was on camera and I spoke for ages and then I realised it wasn't recording. So it's already rolled, but I will show you what you've got. And again, you would have seen me get excited on camera if that bit had recorded. But yes, you got Sagittarius. You got Sagittarius. You got the 12th house, and you got Pluto. So this Sagittarius energy, that makes me think of somebody, like we've said, who is an incredibly good communicator, who is good at languages. It makes me think of somebody who's really playful. I always think of Sagittarians. Is it Sagittarians or Sagittariuses? But yeah, whatever. People with Sagittarius placements, I always think of Sagittarius placements of having an incredible sense of humor. Sagittarius and Gemini are the placements I think of when I think of somebody who is funny. Obviously, any sign can be funny. I'm not just limiting it to those two signs, and you don't have to have Sagittarius in your big three. It could just be a placement of yours somewhere in your chart. But I'm saying that it always brings that humor, it always brings that optimistic, fun to be around, lights up a room kind of humor. And the image that I'm getting as well, I don't think I mentioned this in your oracle reading, but you could be somebody who is very much into travel with the Sagittarius energy. You could be really gifted at finding locations to travel to. You could be gifted at making spare of the moment plans to go traveling and sort of sharing those experiences with your friends. You could be very generous in like if you have a bit of money to spare, you would take friends or family members on a trip with you. Even if it's not necessarily a trip like overseas, you will just pick somebody up and take them to go like on an errand with you, and you might buy them something when you're out on that errand because of like the acts of service sort of feeling with this Anna Grandmother of Jesus card. For some reason, like with the travel, I'm getting the image of you just making the travel experience so much fun and so much more positive than what it could be. I am getting this story in my head of like you and your friends planning a trip, and let's say you end up at this hotel and it is not how it looked online when you booked it. It is a bit run down, it's not very nice. It doesn't look anything like the pictures. You are all a little bit disappointed. Everyone's upset, and I get the sense that you will be the type of person who comes in and just manages to lighten the mood. You just crack a joke, and instead of being down, everyone is in hysterics, and they just see this as a sort of other memory, something to tick off the bucket list. They are not viewing it through this lens of negativity because you have just come in and somehow managed to brighten the mood. You've made this terrible situation into something funny and a memory that you can look back on. You have the amazing capacity to make bad experiences into positive memories for your friends and the people who you surround yourself with. That is what I'm getting from that Sagittarius card, just this never-ending sense of optimism and positivity. Even if you don't feel that way on the inside, that's kind of the vibe that you give out, this sort of larger-than-life personality, somebody who everybody feels gifted to have met. With the 12th house, I'm picking up on this sense of compassion. There could be some Pisces in your chart with the 12th house. It makes me think of somebody who is very giving and not necessarily always expecting something in return. And with the Sagittarius showing up, it makes me think of somebody who is an optimistic dreamer in some way. They are here to spin a positive light, they're here to place a dream on the reality of the situation, and also maybe somebody who is quite adaptable to situations. A sort of it is what it is vibe. I'm here to be adaptable. I'm here to lighten the mood, even if I don't feel that way on the inside. And the 12th house makes me think of a very acts of service type of energy. Generosity, it's giving to other people. Again, it is Piscean energy. So it is very dreamy, it's very giving, it's very generous. And Pluto as well, this makes me think of your capacity to go into a room and shift the mindset of everybody in that room almost instantaneously in a very good way. Often we think of Pluto as a sort of negative planet in the sense that it can signify destruction. However, with that destruction comes transformation, and this doesn't have to be a bad thing. It could be that you transform the mood of the room with how you approach life, your sense of humor, your generosity, your compassion, the way you give to people, the way you act in service of others, and just the way you make your friends and family and people around you feel, how you make them feel so welcomed. You go into a room and you shift the mindset, you shift the tone. Everybody could be feeling down 1 minute, and you go in, you crack a joke, and everyone's smiling, everyone feels lifted, they feel more empowered than they did before. You provide this really amazing sense of optimism, and that is one of your gifts, something that you not only give to yourself but also something that you give others and you give the world. Okay, that was your oracle reading, pile 3. We will now move along to the tarot portion of your reading. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope it's resonating so far. Okay, see you in your tarot reading, pile 3. Hi, pile 3. Welcome back. This is the tarot portion of your reading. Without hesitation, we're just going to get started and we're going to look at which tarot cards we have for you. Okay, pile 3. We have Temperance in reverse. We have the 9 of Wands. We have the Chariot. We have the 6 of Swords in reverse. We have the 7 of Cups in reverse. We have the Page of Pentacles. We have the 3 of Pentacles. We have the Page of Cups. We have the Queen of Pentacles. There's a lot of Pentacles. And we have the 2 of Cups. Quite a lot of Pentacles, quite a lot of Cups. Okay, so in relation to your current energy and to these gifts that you possess, with this Temperance in reverse, I get the sense that you are somebody, and this is quite unsurprising with all the kind of passionate Sagittarius-y type energy and you being that sort of larger than life personality. I get the sense that you are somebody who does things to excess and you are not afraid to dream big. That is one of your gifts. Not only do you not temper your own expectations, but you also don't temper other people's expectations. You are fully supportive of other people's dreams. This is one of your gifts. You are very good at being positive, being optimistic when somebody shares something with you that they would like to do, they would like to achieve. You are very enthusiastic about it. I think enthusiastic was the word I was looking for. You do not come at them with a big list of why their idea won't work. You encourage them to dream big, you encourage them to go after what they want, and you yourself have a real go-getter energy about you. Despite all the pentacles and the cups in this reading, there is also a fair bit of fiery energy, especially the cards that came out in the oracle reading. There was a lot. You have a lot of passion and a lot of drive. With this Chariot, I think that you go at things full pelt. And this is one of your strengths. The fact that you have such go-getter energy, that you can be ambitious in that way, that you are a doer, that you don't just think about things, you will take action, you will go after what you want. These are all extremely positive things, but I feel as though it can lead to this sense of excess, and in some cases it can result in burnout, especially if you are somebody who gives your all towards everything, towards the people in your life who you care immensely about. You give them a lot and you don't expect anything back, because I don't think you come at people and I don't think you go looking for help. I don't think you're somebody who approaches people with how can this person helped me. I think you approach them more as how can I help them? And that's amazing, but sometimes you also need help. So maybe currently or in your not so distant future, there will be a lesson for in there for you in your life about the ways in which you can accept help, the ways in which you can open up to people instead of just being welcoming and being comforting yourself. It's about how you can get that energy back, how people can give back to you. Because with this Nine of Wands, I feel as though there was some kind of test of your resilience, your perseverance. Maybe you were pushed sort of to the end of your rope, and especially if you are in a kind of role where you are not seeing the rewards for all the work you have put into it. Perhaps if you are a teacher or you work in education or something like that, you are putting in all this work, you are sacrificing a lot of your time, a lot of your energy to a particular outcome, and you are not yet seeing the results of all the energy you've put into this situation. The gifts that you have to be optimistic, to cheer people up, to inspire, to educate people, they are all having a lot of impact behind the scenes, but you might not necessarily get to see this. You just see that you're putting a lot of work into a situation. And let's use the teaching thing as an example. So, if you are a teacher, you're putting in a lot of work towards your students, you're providing them with the best education you can. You are becoming very tired, very burnt out, and exhausted because of this. You are having a moment where you are thinking to yourself, is this really for the best? Should I be putting all this effort into this? Because I don't know if these children are learning in the best way because of what I'm doing. I don't know if what I'm doing is making much of a difference, but it really, really is. It is just about trying to find that balance, trying to find moderation somewhere in the chaos, into all this energy that you're putting in, and learning to accept help and learning that you can be helped by other people as much as you help them. I think that is very much what this energy is trying to say, what it's about. Your gifts are not wasted. You are very, very gifted in what you do, whatever kind of job it is. I sense that in some way you are of service to somebody or you are helping people in some way. And that is very powerful. You are very talented at that. You are very skilled at it and you do make a difference. I just felt the need to say that because I think sometimes you are doubting whether you are actually making a difference, and your gifts are making a huge impact. You are making the world a better place by what you do, and you are changing things powerfully. I just don't think that you are necessarily aware of that. So, if that is something you have been thinking about, if you are doubting that what you are doing is affecting anyone in a positive way, I'm telling you that it is. And your gifts are very important and they are something to be celebrated, even if it feels like, those gifts aren't celebrated all the time. Something that kind of confirms that last message a little bit is with this Seven of Cups energy, that can sometimes indicate, because it's in reverse, that can indicate sort of confusion, a bit of disarray, maybe like a lack of purpose in some way. So maybe you are in this particular role, you're in this particular career. Again, I'll use the teaching example, but it does not have to be that. I'm just using it as an example because that's what's springing to mind, but it can be anything. But let's say you are in this teaching role, and again, you're really questioning whether you have gone down the right route in a career. Maybe you've just had a bad day, and again, because you're not the type of person who might go and tell everybody what a bad day you're having, because you're somebody who on the surface seems quite optimistic. You might not have opened up to people at the fact that something or someone at work or wherever you are has hurt you, that this has affected you, and you have sort of put on a smile as a mask and you have got on with your day. But in the back of your mind, you have been questioning whether this is really your purpose. You might have felt a bit lost or a sense of confusion because of this. However, again, you are so, so gifted, and you might not be seeing all the progress. You might not be seeing these gifts come to fruition. It just gives me the sense of like somebody who is at a crossroads or has recently been at a crossroads in some aspect of their life. And if you are this teacher, this educator, it could be that you are really sitting back and questioning, am I making a difference? Am I cut out for this role? Because of this excess, you might be feeling very burnt out. You might be feeling like you can't go on, like this is the last stand, like you are in decision mode. And with this Seven of Cups, you're thinking, is this really my purpose? And maybe sometimes you have thought about giving up on this role, on this career path, or, whatever endeavor it is that you're exploring, you have thought about giving up on this idea. You could have used travel in the past as a means of escapism with the Six of Swords in reverse. That could be what that means. However, I'm getting the image of like, although your efforts might not be being appreciated at the time, I'm seeing that they will be in the future. You will feel that sense of having served a purpose, having been of service to somebody, having made things better. I feel like, let's say you are a teacher, just using that example, you are somebody who you might not know whether your students, if you have students, really respect and value you, or whether they're getting anything out of your lessons, let's say. You might really be doubting that because you don't get a lot of feedback or validation that tells you one way or the other. But I'm telling you that they very much value you. You are the type of teacher who those students will remember, and when they are older, they will tell stories about you, how you really got them into a certain subject, you really inspired them. Your optimism was something that was so contagious that it spurred them on, it made them interested in the subject. Other teachers haven't managed to do that. There was something about you, your comforting presence. Maybe they were able to open up to you in, a way that they couldn't with other adults in their life. Maybe you are the person who provided that safe space that they potentially didn't have at home. It could be that. But either way, you will be recognized in some way for your efforts. It just made me think of like an adult writing to somebody who used to be a former teacher of theirs and saying how much that they were inspired by this teacher. It could even be somebody who, when they're older, they become famous for something, they make some kind of discovery, or and they cite you as a source for somebody who has pushed them and somebody who has really made them better themselves and somebody who has really inspired them to be interested in this subject. That is just one example. It doesn't have to be a teacher student thing. I'm just saying that your presence provides this optimism. It makes people feel more courageous. It allows people to dream big. It allows people to sort of want to follow their dreams. Your enthusiasm, your optimism, that energy is really one of your gifts. And with this Two of Cups, there is just something very, very special about the way you connect with people. People really do feel a sense of kinship, a sense of unity with you. They might just feel so comfortable in your presence. They might feel really comfortable telling you things. There is just something about your energy that people can't get anywhere else. It feels like you are the gift. The things that you offer to other people, the way you make them feel, it's something that they cannot find anywhere else. And that makes them never want to lose this connection with you. They feel as though you're somebody who makes a lot of people feel as though they have a very strong bond with you. You could have actually like a lot of close friends who really, really value and respect you and feel as though they never want to lose you. You create such intense bonds with people. And with this Three of Pentacles, that also makes me think of collaboration and teamwork. I feel as though you are very gifted in being a team player and doing things for the greater good and for the benefit of the team. And I think this goes back to what we were saying in the oracle reading with you like putting on a brave face despite what you're going through. You show up and you are cheerful, you are optimistic, or that's how you come across to people. I think you never feel like you want to let the team down in some way, whether that's like colleagues or friends. You feel as though you want to show up and give your best efforts and really make the effort to collaborate in that sense. So the Three of Pentacles can be about pooling energy together to create something as a team. And I think you are somebody who brings that energy. You are very gifted at uplifting the energy of a room. And therefore, I think you work well as a team in the sense that you lift everyone's spirits. People might be feeling very demotivated, and you could come in and you have this amazing ability to lift their spirits, to brighten the room, to make people feel better, and that in turn then motivates them to continue with the project, to carry on. You are very good at encouraging people to carry on with their ideas or something, a project you are working on together as a group, whatever it may be. You are extremely gifted and talented at encouraging people and inspiring them. With the Page of Pentacles as well, this makes me think of somebody who is that star student, that philosophical person. You are gifted at learning. And I know that sounds weird, but some people, they get to a certain stage of, I suppose, evolution in their life, and they decide that they know enough and they don't really seek deeper knowledge anymore. They don't change their philosophical views despite new evidence. They are quite set in their ways, but I feel like you are very gifted at continuously learning, continuously being that student of life and delving deeper into philosophical topics or, just whichever subject you're interested in. You are always learning about it and always willing to grow, and that is such a gift in itself. Sometimes with the Page of Pentacles, I get the sense that there is a little bit of foolishness, especially when it's in reverse. Obviously, it's not come out in reverse this time, but I get a sort of light-hearted, foolish energy with you. Again, it gives me like Gemini or Sagittarius vibes. I get the sense that you are somebody who can be a little bit silly. You're not afraid to be silly. You're not afraid to put yourself in some interesting situations for the benefit of learning, but that is something that's actually a gift. Again, you have this sort of go-getter energy with this Chariot. You plunge right ahead into things, and sometimes you feel like that might work to your detriment. Sometimes you end up in situations that might not be the most desirable, but they provide a lesson, and sometimes they provide an element of humor. You have a lot of stories to tell people and funny things that have happened to you because of this energy of just going after things. Maybe there has been times when you haven't really considered the consequences, but you have always been okay. Things have always worked out in the long run. So you don't dwell on that too much. You realize that humans are here to make mistakes, but we are also here to learn from them. So you take that energy with you and you turn it into something good. With this Page of Cups, you can be a little bit of a dreamer, but I think that works to your benefit in the way that, again, you are very enthusiastic. You encourage people to follow their dreams and you are not afraid to follow yours. Sometimes the Page of Cups can represent an energy that is kind of like head up in the clouds, that sort of thing, a bit of naivety sometimes, but I don't think that I don't think your head is stuck in the clouds. I think that you can have a bit of a dreamy nature about you, but you are also a go-getter. You have a dream and then you will go after it, and this endless enthusiasm, this sort of boundless optimism that helps you, it enables you to do that. It is a great balance, a great gift of both things. It's being a dreamer, but it's also putting the dreams into action. The Page of Cups can also represent innocence in some way and naivety. So innocence makes me think of the play card and that ability to access your inner child. This is just confirmation of that. People see you as quite innocent in many ways, and that could be strange to you because, again, like if you are a bit of a joker, if you have a silly sense of humor, you might be somebody who, makes dirty jokes or makes innuendos or, people, you just kind of have that sense of humor, but people still see you in quite an innocent light. Not necessarily childish, but again, just somebody who can access that playful, high energy part of themselves, that childlike energy. It's something that is really a gift. It allows you to connect with many different people of many different ages. You have never lost that ability to be a little bit childish, a little bit goofy and silly. That is something that is an incredible gift. And this Queen of Pentacles energy very much represents your gifts of being generous, of being compassionate, caring, welcoming, supportive. That is something people feel when they are in your presence. They feel so welcomed and cozy in your home, in your space, whether it's a physical space like your actual house or just your intellectual space. The way you make them feel, it's something that they might not get in another place. One of your gifts really is this comforting nature. It can also indicate that you are quite gifted in having business sense. Now, this doesn't have to be like in business specifically, it could just be that you are good at finding deals and things like that. You are good at getting your money's worth from a situation. It could be that, let's say if you do go traveling with your friends, you could be the friend who, your friends come to you and they've found a few locations and a few deals, and you're like, hang on a sec, I can find a better one. Leave it to me, I'll go and do it. Again, that go-getter energy, but also like having that good business sense, that good balance, that could also be one of your gifts. And although sometimes with the temperance reversed, although sometimes you can be a little bit out of balance and you can do things to excess, and maybe this has caused you a few issues in the past, you might be somebody who potentially used to drink a lot. Maybe you would go out binge drinking and then you would feel terrible and you would be vomiting for the next few days because you really go all out. You take things quite far and you do sometimes take things to excess. That could be something that you've struggled with before, but because of this excess, you know how to live a life of luxury. You know how to go all out. You know how to provide luxurious experiences for people in your life and for yourself. And I feel like that is a gift. Again, your home could be like very aesthetically pleasing. People could compliment you on your home. It could feel like a gift just to be invited to your house, just to come for dinner or to come for a gathering. If you have friends round, your house could be their favorite place to go. Even if it's just to have a casual drink or a little bite to eat, they could really enjoy coming to you and you giving them that experience of luxury and really making them feel welcomed. Anyway, pile 3, that is what I am getting for your reading. We are just going to finish up your reading with a little message pulled from the Guardian Angel Oracle deck. So I'm going to get that card now and just read out what you've got. Okay, let's have a look, pile 3. Positive outcome. At this very moment, you are sowing the seeds of your future through your thoughts, feelings, beliefs, and attitudes. Whether through love, fear, or indifference, you are always creating something. So remember to keep your thoughts, beliefs, and attitudes positive, and you will create a positive outcome. I just can't believe how well, like the colour match and the colour on the oracle cards. Again, this very vibrant energy, this larger than life, positive energy, that just speaks to who you come across as a person and your gifts that you have to share with the world. I think sometimes you have maybe doubted who you are a little bit, and perhaps if you have gone through a hard time recently, you might have thought to yourself, well, I'm showing up in the world every day, giving it my all, giving it a lot of enthusiasm, trying to remain positive. And sometimes this positivity could have felt like a prison because on the days where you weren't necessarily feeling too positive, it felt like you had to be that person who provided that positivity, that optimism, that sense of enthusiasm. You felt as though nobody else was going to do it. It's your job to do it. So even if you're feeling absolutely rubbish, you have to show up and be this source of light to other people. And sometimes that could have led to burnout and it could have got on top of you, always being that ray of sunshine to people. But there is a lot going on behind the scenes. Your positivity has really benefited you. There could have been a point where you said to yourself, how is this benefiting me? I don't seem to be getting back what I'm giving out. But with this card, it's saying that there are seeds being sown for your future, and what you are doing now, your attitude your feelings, your beliefs, they are all contributing towards your future in a positive way. People do know how gifted they are to have you in their life. People do definitely value you, even if you can't see it. People do realize that you are a gift. This positivity, this enthusiasm that you share, the things that you give to other people, your generosity and your compassion, these are all amazing gifts. And I think you maybe do need to find that balance. So, as we said, it's amazing to be positive, but it's also okay to have down days. And if you are feeling down, I think it is very important that you don't mask if it feels as though you are masking, and that you do reach out to people when you need to. You do not need to be smiling all the time, every second of the day, to make people feel comfortable and welcomed. If you feel like you will be being more yourself by opening up a bit, and if you are having a hard day, you can still make jokes about it, because I have a feeling that if you were having a negative time, your go to reaction is to kind of make jokes about it, and that's absolutely fine. You might be somebody who always does that, as long as you do be honest with the people around you. If you are not somebody who likes to open up to everybody, that's fine, but at least open up to somebody, and just know that you can rely on your friends and the people you care about. Just know that that is an option. You don't always have to be giving, giving, giving and not getting anything back. And also remember that the things you are doing now, it is also for your benefit. The way you do things with love, that is just who you are. Because you could turn around and say, well, I'm not going to give my all to this situation because I'm not getting this level of sacrifice back. And I'm not saying that you should sacrifice any aspect of yourself for people who, don't necessarily deserve it. If that's how you genuinely feel, and you feel as though you are getting burnt out and people are taking too much and you need to rein what you are giving back a bit, I think that's absolutely fine. You should not keep anybody in your life if they are consistently taking from you and not giving anything in return. But I think deep down, who you are as a person is this source of light and is this source of positivity. And I think if you were to suddenly turn around and start acting really grumpy and not showing up, I think you would become very tired of yourself. I don't think you would like that aspect of you. But again, it is finding that balance, because it's okay to have down days, it's okay to be emotional, but I think it's not natural for you to be a sort of downtrodden person. I think that just isn't in your nature, and your positivity, your sunshiny nature, it radiates from you, and it attracts many opportunities to you that perhaps you are not realizing at this current moment. But your positivity, your radiance is truly a gift. Your vibrancy is what makes you stand out from other people, and it makes the world a better place. Your existence makes the world a better place. Okay, that is what I am getting, Pal 3. I hope this resonated with you. If it did resonate in any way, please comment below and let me know. Please like the video, and if you enjoy my content, please subscribe to the channel. It would be a massive help. With that being said, that is all for your reading. I hope you enjoyed it. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye, Pal 3.